Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is, of course, twitch.tv/Clyde Plays Live. We are bringing you some wonderful coverage of tonight's Clash of the Classes tournament. My name is Clyde. If it's your first time here, we're very glad to have you joining us. Let me get some game audio going there. With me today, as always, but this time with voice, is one Skada Hurt, who's joining me in the studio today. We're going to be calling all of the action that we have. I think we're scheduled for 6 games so far, and we're really hoping to have some excellent action in these. Skada, how are things going over at your place there?
Oh, it was a beautiful summer day today, and now we're going to watch some people throw their boats into the void.
They're definitely going to be throwing their boats into one another, at least. Now, if it's your first time joining us for Clash of the Classes, let me talk a little bit about this tournament. I've got some information here on the screen for you. This is a 4 versus 4 tournament where players can use a point-buy system to purchase ships that will eventually construct their team. You have a total of 41 points to spend, with ships costing somewhere between 6 and 18 points, depending on tier and premium status. Premium ships do cost an extra point. There are a list of excluded ships. You can check those out at the rules, which you can access at clashoftheclasses.net. And I recommend that you check out that website if you're interested in the tournament or maybe being involved in the future, or you just want to know more about what the players are choosing. With the ship lineups, you're going to be seeing tiers. It says tiers 5 through 10 on the screen. That's actually an error. You can bring any tier you want, but ships from tiers 5 and below all cost the same number of points, which is 6. Each team is comprised of a battleship, 2 cruisers, and 1 destroyer, and that's led to some very interesting configurations. Now, Scott and I, we're here about 13 minutes ahead of our first battle. First fight we have tonight is going to be between Dark and Cake, 2 teams that we haven't yet had a chance to cover in this tournament, but I'm pretty excited about seeing the ships and the lineups that we've seen. Scott, we saw a bunch of wacky ships yesterday. I mean, was there anything there that really threw you for a loop? Anything you were really surprised to see that maybe is worth mention as we get ready for the event?
Well, like that the clip you posted, I don't know if I expected to see a JEDI. I think the rules of the tournament inspire more low-tier destroyers to be involved in. So I think that was kind of the thing. When we talked a little bit, I think at the end of yesterday's show about how it was really lower tier toward boats that we would see.
Right.
We weren't seeing a lot of gunboats, or we weren't seeing a lot of higher tier destroyers. So yeah, I think for me, probably that JEDI is one I wouldn't have expected to see.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised by JEDI. The other that really caught me off guard was Abruzzi. I mean, I like some of those mid-tier Italian cruisers, and I know I kind of talked about this one last night. Abruzzi's an interesting pick. It's not a SAP cruiser. It does have a heel, which you mentioned in our coverage of the games last night. And I think looking at tier 7, tier 8 cruisers that have heels is definitely going to be one of the places where we've seen players and teams spend their points. They've definitely been saving their points on destroyers, like you said, tier 5 JEDI. We've seen Fujin, we've seen Minakaze, and spending those points on battleships and cruisers up at the higher tiers. I do have the tournament web TV display rolling here right now. You can see some of the results of the matches from yesterday, and of course we can see the standings. Now if you take a look at they're right over here, these standings, you can see the columns up above aren't quite aligned with the columns of numbers. So we've got games played, wins, draws, losses, and points, and those points are used in a Swiss style tournament. Swiss tournaments are interesting. There's a Wikipedia article on it. If you're really curious, go look it up. But if you don't care, you're just here for the action, well, you're in a good place for that. Our first battle today is going to be taking place on the Archipelago map. So let me switch back over to taking a look at Archipelago, which I think is this button right here. Skada, this is a lower tier map, so like what we saw yesterday, all of these are fairly small scale maps, and the matches are set to just 10 minutes long. Where do you think is going to be hotspots in Archipelago? Where do you think we're going to bump into some of the hottest action in the battle that we're going to see here in about 10 minutes time?
I'm gonna, that the way Charlie's encircled, as we like to say sometimes on the
yes,
show,
we do.
Encircled by maps. I think Bravo can be tricky with all the islands around there. I probably that channel. I think the way we saw teams go yesterday, you're gonna see your first engagement that's either gonna be, you know, between A, B, or B, C, and that's nothing crazy, right? I mean,
No, pretty
somewhere the fight
traditional
has
play.
to start. Probably if somebody leans more towards Alpha Bravo on that south side, it's going to be there because of that island coverage you get in Bravo Charlie. So I think you're going to see that first engagement, but it really depends. We saw a lot of strategies in play yesterday. Some teams that split out their cruisers, some teams that split out their DD, some teams that all went in one clump together. And so the style of play that's involved really lends itself a lot to how it ends up loading out in regards to where we see that action take place.
Yeah, I mean, Archipelago is certainly not limited on islands, but I think your idea that, you know, teams are going to lean to a pair of caps rather than trying to contest all three, you know, they just don't have enough ships to really contest all three like you would in a random or honestly even a clan battle. You know, if I'm on the southeastern side of this, Charlie's going to provide you some islands for cover, which would be, you know, kind of comforting, but it's also going to reduce your sight lines. So if you're a low detect destroyer, you might prefer to go over towards the A cap. On the north side of the map, the northwest corner, you know, it feels like they've got a slightly better island coverage on Charlie, but it's really not that different from what you see on Alpha. I think you're going to see destroyers wanting to go to Charlie unless their team asks them to do the other side. But the Alpha side, of course, just as likely to be a place where battle begins. And I think, you know, kind of like we saw yesterday, Bravo is going to be where the fight ends, right? It's probably going to be the last cap to be taken.
Yeah, these lower tier maps and the timelines on these matches really lead to, you know, these fights don't take a while to develop, right? The fight develops and then it comes together, which I think makes for an exciting style of tournament.
Yep. And I like that 10-minute timer. You know, it's one of those things. I used the phrase explosive action a lot yesterday, and not just because it seems like something that, you know, a cheesy sportscaster would use, but it really is pretty wild, where at the beginning of the map or the beginning of the match, you can see the teams kind of feeling each other out, figuring out who can spot what the other team first, right? There's so much intelligence that you can gather by spotting the enemy team first. And because there's so few ships on each side, if you spot 2, maybe even 3 ships, you've got a great idea of where the bulk of the enemy force is at. And so you'll be able to respond to that and put your ships in the right place to respond to, or maybe to react, I should say, to that initial setup.
Right. You know, one of the other things we saw a fair amount of yesterday was the variance in teams between who took what sensors, right? We saw plenty of teams win that did not have radar at all in their fleet, and then we saw other teams that certainly were depending on it, that at least had 1 and sometimes maybe 2 ships with radar. So kind of interesting to see. I think we saw a lot more dominance in using ships like another ship that we saw yesterday we probably didn't expect to see was Duca Abruzzi. But you know, as a tier 7 cruiser, it has a heel, and so being able to buy a tier 7 cruiser cheaper in your points allocation and still get a heel, you know, that's a great thing. You know, I could see more ships like that. We saw Boise. Because again, Boise has a heel at tier 7 cruiser, still has hydros. Thought we might see Maya, the newer Japanese premium tier 7 cruiser, but we didn't. I think Maya would actually lend itself well to these tournaments with its 8-kilometer hard-hitting torpedoes and its heel.
Yeah.
You know,
that's
so
short.
I think.
I'm sorry. No,
Go
continue.
ahead.
Well, I was going to say that short distance makes that 8-kilometer torpedo thing work, doesn't it?
Yeah, completely usable, and I think that. Can I buy a tier 7 cruiser, a tier 7 premium cruiser with a heel? Obviously, we saw Fiji.
Yep.
But then, you know, a lot of what comes into play is the nation restrictions. You know, if you have your heart set on a specific 9 and that's the same nation as that 7 or that 8, well, then you have to find something else. And that's what makes it interesting, I think.
Yeah, and you can, you know, I don't want to say that there are good and bad ships in World of Warships, because I think there are good and different ships. And some of those different ships are a lot of fun to play, and some of those different ships are quite competitive. But, you know, what I think we're seeing is players picking their high tier ship first, the ship they're really going to spend their points on, and then building the rest of the team around that. So, you know, when you see these teams pop in, we're going to cover the rosters on each side. We'll take a look at what's going on Team Red, what's going on Team Green, and then we'll take a quick survey of that, and we'll go, okay, what was their high tier ship? What did they build this team around? What did they choose because they had to, because of the nation restriction, because of the reduction in points that they had left, and so on and so forth. So, definitely really interesting to see how people pick the ships. We had at least one battle yesterday where neither team brought radar. And I remember thinking that was pretty wild. They decided that maybe the short distances, the small maps, meant that they didn't need radar. Maybe you can get good enough sensor work with spotting and maybe some of those longer range acoustics, that radar becomes kind of a luxury that maybe you're overpaying for. So, the strategy in this, I think, is really deep. The folks over at the Clash of the Classes team really have put together an interesting set of rules that lets us have so much variability, and that's something we're really just lacking in other tournaments. Looks like we have 8 of our team members in the channel here. 7 of them are readied. We may be starting the battle a little bit early. We've got 4 teams ready to go on the Dark Clan, and Cake is ready. Oh, we got 8 readies now. Looks like we're getting calls for ready. Let me announce that the streamers are ready as well. And if we go, okay, we've got a 3-minute wait, and they're going to hold out until exactly 5 o'clock. So a little bit of a false excitement there. Scott, if I'm not mistaken, it sounds like maybe you're eating something right now, so I can just keep filling time if that's required.
No, I'm not.
Oh, really? Okay. It sounded like maybe you were chomping down a sandwich there, and maybe
I did have a handful of Cheez-Its, but I've eaten them and they're gone now.
Well, that is fantastic. No Cheez-Its. We're good. Yeah. I don't know, man. This should be a pretty good crew. We've got players from the YOLO clan as well as Kraken here, and then and those are on the Dark team. On the Cake team, we've got a group of folks from the 5D and 5D2 clans. I'm not familiar with 5D and 5D2, but that just could be my own ignorance. I think we're going to see some really great play. Obviously, the tournament is based around an ELO rating. If you're not familiar with ELO ratings, there's a great Wikipedia article about it. There's a man by the name of ELO who came up with this scheme. They use it to rate and help match chess champions against one another. And they're using that here. So now that it's day 2 of the regular season, we've got some teams that have gone up in ELO score and some teams that have gone down, and we're looking at the better teams are being matched against each other, and the teams that are struggling a little bit more are matched against each other too, which should make for some more balanced matchmaking as the tournament progresses. So what I think we're looking at here is probably a couple of teams that have a few more points, although I haven't checked their standings. So we should see some high quality play here, and it could mean the battle starts a little bit more slowly. When teams are a little bit more tactical, a little bit more strategic, they may be a little more careful with their positioning and where they're parking their ships to start the game out, knowing that every hit point lost really does put your team at a disadvantage.
Yeah, without being specific, both of these teams have a lot of very good World of Warships players, and so it's a great first match for us to start off tonight's slate.
Excellent. I'm pretty stoked about this one. I was excited to have an opportunity to cast for the Dark and Cake clans, because I did look at the standings initially, and then I picked a bunch of teams from all over the scoreboard. So we're going to be seeing all kinds of play tonight. One of the great things about this tournament, of course, is that it does cater to players of all skill levels. And of course, obviously, once we get into the brackets, we're going to start seeing the better and better teams continue on in the tournament, but that won't be until next weekend. All of the action this weekend and through this next week is going to be teams all over the boards. We've been given a 30-second warning by the organizing player, so we are getting ready to get into our first battle. We will go back to the what is Clash of the Classes here, just in case anybody's joined us recently. Good luck to these two teams. Let's get into our first match.
Yeah, we have to be careful. You can't say anything about rumbling or anything that's copyrighted.
Oh, we shouldn't get ready to do those things? I understand. I really want to do it now.
Attorneys for Michael Buffer are calling.
Mm-hmm. Okay, here is Archipelago. All of the islands that you expect are here and now in large form. I'm going to cover Team Green. We've got a Baltimore, which brings radar to bear. A Le Fantasque. This is the first Tier 8 destroyer I think we've seen in the tournament so far. Grafspé and a Vladivostok. Skata, what are we seeing over on the red team? That is Cake.
Red team has brought a Fubuki, a Ramat, an Indianapolis, and a Schlieffen, and I believe that's the first tier 10 we've seen.
I think it is as well. Now, Fubuki is taking a hard left corner to start off the match and rolling over towards the A cap. Ramat moving straight forward towards B, and Indianapolis taking a left-hand corner, either setting up for shots into B or possibly looking at a Charlie-word approach. Schlieffen is moving straight forward in to get close to the action. If we take a look at what's going on over here in the Dark Clan, Grafspay has turned left and seems to be following Le Fantasque towards Charlie Cap, with Baltimore sort of angling that way, but maybe Baltimore's going to push up there and get a position supporting Bravo, with Vladivostok pushing forward in a similar fashion to the Schlieffen. Now, this is very interesting. Vladivostok is 2 tiers down from Schlieffen. They've spent their points very differently as they've decided to set up this competition. Ramat and Indianapolis coming as a group over here towards Charlie. The intentions of the red team a little bit more clear now, with Fubuki moving on Alpha, effectively unchallenged. That should be a free cap for the Cake team as Schlieffen moves towards Bravo, somewhat alone and hopefully unafraid.
Yeah, you talked about the differences between Schlieffen and Vladivostok being 2 tiers apart, but boy, do they have similar hit point pools.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. 73,600 hit points on our Vladivostok. Schlieffen at 76,100. That is that Soviet influence that we're feeling on that ship. Le Fantasque running just along the edge. He's getting his nose pointed out of the cap and loosing some torpedoes to where he sees the smoke coming from Ramat and Indianapolis, that direction. Grafspay holding back. Now, Grafspay's firing range is about 16 kilometers. He's probably just got range on those 2 ships. They're about 14.5 away from the pocket battleship there. Baltimore and Vladivostok essentially on top of one another. Interesting positioning these 2 have chosen.
Ramat smoked in Indianapolis, and Indianapolis used his radar, and they picked out the Le Fantasque out there.
Oh, I see that.
A Ramat does not have hydros, right? And those torpedoes are coming, and I don't know that Indianapolis has used any either. So this could be a decisive... Oh, the torps come short.
Yeah. That would have been a very exciting change over here on that northeast cap. Fubuki's close to wrapping up the Alpha cap. Schlieffen is now engaged with the Vladivostok. We're seeing battleship on battleship action. This is a pretty brazen push by the Schlieffen, and it could be one that winds up costing one team or the other a ship or at least a lot of hit points. Grafspay is in the action supporting Vladivostok against Schlieffen. Grafspay, tier 6, fighting a tier 10 battleship. You just don't get this in any other tournament.
Vladivostok finds himself in a situation where he could push out and eat secondaries, but he's getting farmed a bit by that Ramat from range over there. Well, Ramat doesn't have powerful guns. You got to remember Ramat's a tier 6. It's the same as the Dido cruiser, but it is going to start fires, and it looks like it has done that on Vladivostok.
Yeah, we've got a fire there. Goliath is ablaze and letting it burn. You know, Vladivostok being a Soviet battleship does have the ability to turn off those fires with a very fast reloading damage control party, but they have a limited number of those damage control parties. And with the secondaries of the Schlieffen right around the corner, Indianapolis and Ramat both being decent with HE, although Indy would probably prefer to use its AP armament, Vlada is hanging on to those DCP modules. Fubuki sent some torpedoes there. Oh, go ahead, take it away.
Baltimore did use his radar, and Le Fantasque took a shot at Fubuki, and that's why Fubuki broke out. Is pulling away after dumping those torps. Schlieffen has popped its hydros. Now Baltimore has its hydros up.
Yep, and we can see Schlieffen pushing around, hoping to get an angle on Baltimore. Baltimore has got the throttle, and the hammer is down. He's pushing up, trying to use that island as a shield, but Schlieffen is coming around. His wheels are rolling pretty hard. Le Fantasque is coming over to make sure that if Schlieffen gets into trouble, he pays, or it gives Baltimore trouble, I should say. He's going to pay for it. And Indianapolis using that Ramat smoke to great effect and keeping the farm going. Great work by these 2 lower tier cruisers.
Le Fantasque has dumped torps now for Schlieffen.
Schlieffen has not
cost him quite a bit of health.
Yeah, he did. Baltimore managed to escape. Schlieffen does not appear to have loosed any torpedoes. Unless those are them way over there.
Nah, he had dumped his torps off that side towards Vladivostok before making this move.
Are these going to find their home? I think he's going to take at least one. One torpedo. Will he oversteer into the next one? He will. 2 torpedoes on Schlieffen. Fubuki is smoking up there, probably less afraid of Baltimore now that the radar is down, although he is going to take a couple of shots here coming in from across the map. Fubuki's about half gone at this point. Ramont and Indianapolis keeping the shots going on Baltimore. This is very well done play. Both of those.
Fabuki.
Oh, we lost Fabuki from a great shot by Baltimore. Well done to the Baltimore captain. Ramont and Indianapolis probably having a hard time spotting Baltimore at this point, but they do have shots on Vladivostok. Schlieffen is working on Le Fantasque. Although Schlieffen is hurting by way of hit points. This is looking like it's going Dark's way with Cake struggling to keep pieces on the board. But there goes Baltimore. A nice fire burns out the Baltimore coming from a Schlieffen secondary, no doubt.
Schlieffen has chucked torps towards Vladivostok, and he is now trying to get himself into a position. Oh.
Ooh, big hit against Schlieffen. This could be the end of the big battleship. Our first tier 10.
Bad.
This might be it.
Ouch.
Will these torps...
Scores, 60 points difference in the scores right now.
Yeah, it looks like Vlad is going to dodge those torpedoes with ease. Le Fantasque is staying out of range right now. The two cruisers left. They no longer have their spotter. Ooh, big hit for Ramont.
Graf Spee with a big shot into the side of that Ramont.
Yeah, Graf Spee having those 283 millimeter guns. And Ramont is a ship Graf Spee is not unfamiliar with fighting, right? They come from similar tiers. Graf Spee is a good antidote to the Pan-Asian cruiser. Bravo is being capped right now by Vladivostok, kind of as we discussed before, right? A later game cap. Although the A cap is down to the red team, green team does have a decent lead here as we go into these final minutes of the game. 3 minutes, 7 seconds left on the clock. Torpedoes coming from Ramont, hoping to catch Graf Spee unawares, but I feel like Graf, using his acoustics, could avoid those as long as he's got his wits about him.
Yeah, that's a rough angle too. Those torps are going to skid along the edge of that island, and the Graf Spee is already kind of behind it, so
yeah,
he'd have to be coming out to catch those.
Right, and I just don't think he's gonna fall for that trap. Le Fantasque has moved in a little bit. He's on the cap there, helping Vladivostok raise the flag there. Not quite sure if the red team has a plan right now, but they're not giving up, right? They're not throwing their ships away to get to the next battle. This is, after all, tournament play, and you never know what could happen. 3 ships left. Great hits from that American AP could bring down a Graf Spee, although Graf Spee's angle is quite good for dealing with that incoming fire. If Vladivostok catches the side of the Indianapolis, though, it'd be all over for the American cruiser, and no doubt M-Toads knows that, and he's keeping his guns... or keeping himself, I should say, behind that large island. Le Fantasque playing very cautiously. The Fantasque knows that if things go sideways for his other teammates and they have a good enough point lead, he needs to stay alive in order to carry the win home as the last remaining ship. Graf Spee's taking some damage up here. Things are looking a little bit rough for the German cruiser.
A lot of focus fire there. You got a tier 6 versus a tier 7 and a tier 6, right? That's its home country, right? That's a lot of focus fire, even though Graf Spee is a pocket battleship.
Yeah.
That's a lot of heat to stand up to.
And it looks like Graf Spee is going down. I think Ramont's going to get the kill shots right here. And there he goes. He's out of the game. This is the reason Le Fantasque is holding back. Not to mention the opportunity to go grab the Alpha cap here. We're going to see the destroyer scoop up these points. It's going to stop Team Red's point lead. They're going to have to win by kills because they won't be able to take enough caps. Although the points are just 30 apart. This is very close, especially if Ramont gets some torps.
Vladivostok takes his revenge into that Ramont with a huge hit.
Well, and you know Vlad is mostly afraid of Ramont. Ramont has got the torps, and it's the only ship that can really challenge the Vladivostok's dominance here. Indy alone will not be able to kill Vlad, but if those torps land, he may have a chance to get a cleanup shot. And the torps are looking at least reasonable, but there goes Indianapolis. That's going to be a win for Team Dark.
And a good start match for tonight's stream.
Absolutely. As we kind of predicted, very, very careful play, very tactical play. That was an excellent battle to watch. Very organized. With that, we'll come back to the studio. And thank everybody for the great game. And we're going to bounce out of our room here. Our next battle is going to be between Ares and SULSO. Two teams we didn't have the chance to see play yesterday, so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how that's going to go, and it will take place on the map called Ring. Bring that one up here. This is the only 4-cap map in the entire tournament, as far as I know.
Yeah, we did have one on this yesterday, I believe, and we did talk about how you're either going to meet on one of those sides or you're gonna chase each other around, right? So it's kind of an interesting with the 4 caps. It kind of leads to some interesting possibilities.
Yeah, that's exactly true. Let's see. See if we can find. Looks like our room creator is still in their previous battle. So we've got just a couple of minutes. You know, with these 4 caps and the relatively low ship count that this match, or excuse me, this tournament has, you know, we talked about this yesterday. We're not going to see people splitting and going to try to get all of the caps. After a couple of minutes of combat, we're going to see where the battle will take place on this map, and it's unlikely that we'll see, you know, solo ships rolling around. What did you think of the Schlieffen strategy in that last battle? Kind of going out there trying to rodeo clown and assert some dominance over that Bravo cap. You know, with the small areas, the acoustics of the Schlieffen were probably capable of spotting those ships behind the island. I wonder if that was their goal there, to let the Shumpan and the Indianapolis do some farming while Ramat and Indianapolis do some farming while the battleship held those ships under acoustics.
It definitely seemed like the strategy they were trying to employ was throw the Schlieffen in because that's what it's good at. And then, you know, they went off and they grabbed that cap early with Buki, and then they had Ramat and Indianapolis work together, right? And so immediately when they went up there and they saw that cap was being flipped, and before they had made an engagement with the La Fantasque, Ramat started smoking in that alleyway there, right? So you could have Indianapolis pull into that and fire into Bravo. He then, once he popped his radar, and you know, in Indianapolis, another interesting ship because it's a tier 7 ship with radar, and he picked up the DD. Ramat started firing, and Indianapolis kind of came around and joined the fight on the cap that the Fantasque was capping. I can't remember if that was Alpha or Charlie, but it you know, kind of an interesting start to that match. But then Fantasque just disengaged and got himself out of there, and that left. You know, Graf Spee had traipsed over there, and it left him in a situation where he was kind of just holding down the fort, fighting those guys, while the rest of the fight occurred between Schlieffen, Fantasque, Baltimore, and Vladivostok. So it was kind of an interesting the way they split their forces, and then to see how those work. And I think we saw some of that last night as well, where we saw kind of the cruisers pair off. The DDs kind of out alone, unafraid, doing what DDs do, and then depending on the type of battleship, you know, the battleships. A lot of times we're seeing the battleships take up kind of island positions, just because there's a lot of torpedo soup in these matches.
There really are, and Ares, or excuse me, not Ares, Cake. You know, they didn't win that battle, but they were doing some really solid play. You know, I think the coordination between Ramat and Indy was great, and you talked about Indy being able to shoot into the Charlie cap and then again be able to engage in that Bravo cap a little bit. Indianapolis, we got to remember, is not a short range U.S. cruiser. It has a range of almost 17 kilometers with a decent radar. And also with that pretty good U.S. cruiser armor, at least for its tier. So it's a really solid ship, and I think those guys really demonstrated some skill in holding those two ships together and doing the work that they were doing. I think they could use that to great effect, and just didn't wind up overcoming what Dark was able to bring to the table. But yeah, I think that could have worked out really nicely for them, but the early kill on the destroyer, and Baltimore escaping the Schlieffen's push around was definitely a challenge that put Cake in put him in kind of a vice, put him in a tight spot.
Definitely fun to see the different team layout though, with a 10, 2-7, or a 7 and 2 6s, right? And interesting selections there. You know, when you're going up against a team that had 3 8s, right? Like they had a tier 8 battleship, or a tier 8 battleship, a tier 8 cruiser, and a tier 8 destroyer. Interesting to see how those went together, right? And so we talk about this in the team layouts, and it's like, okay, so they went, we're going to have a Russian 8, we're going to have an American 8, we're going to have a French 8. So we have enough points left where we could take like a
Yeah.
premium 6, or I think isn't a premium 6 cost the same as a Tech Tree 7?
I think that's correct. Yeah.
And so then you're kind of like, what can we take there? And Graf's Bay is such a tough ship, not a high DPM ship, but a very tanky ship. And so really interesting. That's one of my favorite things about this tournament is thinking about what went into the selection of the ships and how the teams are orientated.
Yeah, definitely. The Graf Spey is a really capable ship. You talk about how it's got great guns and it's relatively tanky because of the heel and the acoustics too. I mean, there's not a lot of tools that you'd ask for in a cruiser that aren't on that cruiser. So at least at that tier, right? So it's got a little bit of everything. I've found the Graf Spey to be a very reliable damage dealer when you're able to get good shots and in coordinated play, such as tournament play and so on. It's, I think, a great environment for Graf Spey. We are getting squared away with our next tournament room. I just got the password and we've entered the room here. Pass that along to Skada. We've got 3 of our 8 players in here now. Again, this battle will be fought on, what did I say it was? Ring? Yeah, 4-cap ring. And I'll be very interested to see what these folks bring to the table. Every once in a while you come in here and there's a screen name that you recognize. And it's always kind of interesting to see how these players are going to react. I don't necessarily know the player, but I've seen that screen name in random battles, and it literally kind of lets you know just how small the World Warships community is. And I say small there is in a positive light. We do just bump into a lot of the same screen names, people who play in your time zone or around your same time of day as you. And here we are. They're trying to figure out if we're their enemies or their streamers, but we are their streamers.
Well, either way, folks, it could go either way.
If you're just joining us, guys, welcome. Very glad to have you join us here today. We're doing some casting for Clash of the Classes. If you're unfamiliar with the tournament, I'll give you a brief primer on it. It's a 4 versus 4 tournament. We use a point buy system to purchase your ships. You can play any tier of ship, not just 5 through 10, which is what I put on the little card there. But ships will cost between 6 and 18 points. So you're going to see some really wacky team lineups, and it should be a pretty good time. Very excited about the action we've seen so far. We did do some casting of this yesterday, and if you'd like to see more, if you're having a good time with us tonight, you can just certainly check out the VOD. It's on my Twitch channel there at twitch.tv/ClydePlaysLive, and I think I'll eventually try to get these up to YouTube as well. So
Clyde, as a important member of the Warships community and a community contributor.
I'm looking over my shoulder. Where?
What if you had put a team together for this event? Is there a, let's say you're doing the points loadout where you're like, okay, we've got a tier 5 points level for destroyer, but you can take 5 or below. Is there anything below 5 that you would consider taking as opposed to just taking a 5?
I don't know I think the answer for me is probably no. I mean, you look down at lower tier destroyers and there's a few that stand out, right? We know Clemson is a very powerful ship, but I don't know that Clemson is like better than Nicholas, right? If you were looking at a Nicholas or a Hill. Now Hill's a premium, it's going to cost you an extra point. I really think the Umikaze at tier 2 is very powerful, but I don't know if it's powerful enough to want to bring up. Although the concealment on Umikaze, isn't it like 4 point something? It's so low. I just don't know if it would do enough damage. It's torps reload every 20 seconds. Do you think you could get away with an Umikaze? I don't know. I think I'd rather go.
No, I don't think you could. But I thought it'd be a fun topic to chat about.
No, absolutely.
For the next match.
No, it's all good.
I was trying to think in my head if I could think of anything. Like, are you taking a Tachibana because the AP doesn't the Tachibana?
The AP cannot ricochet. It always.
The AP cannot ricochet. Can you make that work? The answer is no, probably. But but anything can happen in this tournament, as we've seen already in this tier separations. And I was trying to think, is there something below tier 5 that I would be like, yeah, that would work better.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if there's anything on the bottom end of things, but what if you were building a team? What would you build your team around? What's your anchor ship, I guess, is maybe my question. Or do you know?
If
I mean, you might not
if
have an
I was
idea.
putting together, and I thought about this and how I think I mentioned yesterday how, hey, it'd be cool if we had made like, here's what I think a good lineup would be, and I didn't do that in the in between. I enjoyed the weather today and spent the afternoon. I spent the afternoon lounging in my backyard. But
Nice.
had I put any effort into that, I do think I don't know. And what we talked about how in the last match that was the first time we'd seen a tier 10. I think at the cost of a tier 10, it would have to be pretty awesome tier 10 to want to spend those points on it. And because you can't take premiums or specials, I think I'd probably just take a 9s.
Yeah.
And then I think then it comes into play, like if I'm spending a 9, can I, if you take a 9, you take I think you can do like a 9, 8, and then like a 6 and a 5. Or I think I'd probably end up going that way. We also talked about how just doing 5, 6, 7, 8. It makes sense to us. I think we've seen a lot of times where the high point ship has been a cruiser as opposed to a battleship. And I think that can work because there are really great tier 8 battleships you could buy, and then use if you were going to have a tier 9, use your tier 9 points for something like an Alaska, or something that's just immediately, a real contender. And so I think that there's just so many fun iterations. When you talked about that, we talked about, if you take the Alaska, what would you take at tier 8? Well, you can't take Massachusetts then, but I could take Lenin, or I could take Vladivostok, or I could, you can come up with some really fun combinations of ships to pull. I think again, it makes a lot of sense. We that last match there was that team had a tier 8 destroyer, but mostly we've seen destroyers being tier 5s or tier 6s, and that's because most folks are taking torpedo boats, and most of those torpedo boats, as long as the torpedoes can reach 7-8 kilometers, they're probably going to work for the size of these maps.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the they have kind of a table in the rule book that talks about the kind of combinations of ships that you can bring, and one is a 9, 8, and then 2 7s. And what if you could take one of those 2 7s as a T-61? Your 9 could be that Alaska. Your 8 could be, a Vladivostok, something like that, right? I mean, I'm looking at a pretty strong team there. And then a 7, a cruiser with a heel at tier 7. We saw Abruzzi yesterday, and there are other choices, right? Obviously, wouldn't be able to take your Belfast. That one's been banned, but some great picks there. I think that 9877 or 987 Premium 6 would be a really tempting arrangement for me. But there's also a 3 8s and 1 7 build, and we're seeing these combinations out there.
Yeah, and 3 8s and 1 7 would be really strong as well. And I think then when you start running into limitations is when you run into the national limitations, right? So like when I think, well, 3 8s and a 7, okay, so I can't take Alaska, I could take Congress, and I could take Massachusetts. Oh wait, I can't, right? And so, and maybe Massachusetts is something in my head that I think I would want to have there that isn't necessarily the world beater. But you know what I mean? Like then you start running into that, which I think really adds an interesting wrinkle to it, how you have to spread that out and share the wealth amongst the nation.
Yeah, and I even in the examples I just gave there, I wasn't really thinking about that national thing. I know I would come up with all these great illegal teams where I have 2 ships from one nation, and you'd have to kind of sort that out a little bit, right? But I think Massachusetts is a very strong pick because of the heel that it's got, and of course the secondaries, but the heel is really it's party piece in a tournament like this where you can stay alive and make them kill more than one of you, right? That'd be just a really strong capability.
Yep. Thinking about battleships that have either quick firing, the quick reloading heel, or even monster heel. Nobody's favorite ship, but something like Yukon at tier 7.
True.
No, you're not gonna, Yukon at tier 7 has that monster heel, and you're not gonna run
That's
into.
interesting.
Its range wouldn't be a problem in this tournament.
Nope.
That's the problem I have with it. Its range wouldn't be a problem. And nobody's gonna be like, dang it! There was another Commonwealth ship. I was, like, what do you?
You're not gonna. What are you gonna do?
You might be blocking a Haida, but we haven't seen a Haida, right? So and then you're getting Yukon at that cheaper price, and it ostensibly is a Monarch, which is a tier 8 British battleship. It just has shorter range, but it has a zombie heel. And so a ship like that, I think, could be really interesting in a lineup where then you could spend more points to make sure that, first off, Commonwealth isn't blocking anything else you might want to take, really.
No, I mean we did see one Perth, and I think we did see a Haida yesterday, but just one, I think, and it was early.
And so like that, you could take something like that, then that allows me the ease of spending the points, taking Alaska. I keep going back to Alaska, but I really just feel like if you're buying a 9 at a tier 9 at a cruiser, and you have the capability to get an Alaska in your team, why wouldn't you? It's just so good. Good sensors, strong guns, good heal, good tanking.
It's got a little bit of everything. It's really hard for me to imagine taking a premium 9 that isn't Alaska.
Yeah.
There might be one, chat, if we missed an obvious one here, help us out, but I know you'll tell me in 3 minutes, but like
if Frost Knight in 3 minutes, when Frost Knight tells us Siegfried or Aegir, we get it. You like German ships. It's fine.
Siegfried is probably a reasonable pick, but I just think Alaska is just more. It's a Swiss Army knife of tools. It's got everything. It's just so hard to not choose that ship. We are seeing more of our players show up. We've got 7 out of our 8 in the room with us. And so we're waiting on the last player. We're going to get our ships ready to go here. And we're good to go. I've got
the last teams again. Indianapolis, a fun pick because again, a tier 7 radar cruiser. There's not a lot of those. What are your options? Since Belfast is banned, it's like Atlanta, Indianapolis. I can't think of a ton others. There might be another one.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you start shopping on the list, and it's pretty exciting. We're having a chat here. It's a 3 minutes ago chat. Rokiri says a T-61 is a tier 6 ship, and I said yes, but it costs the same as a tier 7 because it's got that extra premium point. And Rokiri goes, oh, interesting, extra for premiums. And yeah, it is interesting. It's part of what makes this tournament so fun to sit here and dream up teams. It's almost like, rolling characters for a D&D campaign. Well, who's got the fighter? I need a healer over here. Like, what are the capabilities and skills that you need to have a well-rounded team when the rules for building that team are just so unique to Clash of the Classes? We're waiting on one player to get readied up here. Then we're going to be going into ring as soon as we are able and ready to go. I'll let you guys know. We'll jump over. Ooh, I need to update the teams. Who are we doing? It's Ares versus SULSO. Hopefully I have time to do this. Hurry, Clyde.
We were sitting here flapping our gums for a while.
I know. And I'm over here being like, I'm running a television program as well.
We're doing what they call in the business vamping.
A little vamping going on here. Speaking of vamping, we've got some new content that's coming out tomorrow into my YouTube channel. I won't be able to tell you anything about it until it is live, but I recommend watching the YouTube channel tomorrow. We are all ready and we are waiting for the go. We're about 2 minutes ahead of schedule. That does not hurt my feelings one bit. We're going to try to squeeze in an extra battle at the end of the stream tonight, and hopefully we've got enough time to get to that battle without being too rushed. I don't want to be too rushed. All right. We are loading into the battle. It's Ares versus SULSO. Ares is going to be the green team on our screen, and SULSO will be red. And when we get in there, we're going to take a look at the lineups. I have no idea what the ships have brought. As you guys have probably gathered, we don't see until we get in here. And it looks like a tier 9 on Team Green. Now on on Ring here, we do have one ship off to the side. Our Ares team is comprised of, check this out, a tier 9 destroyer, Mogador, Montecuccoli, which I think is a tier 5. And Friedrich der Grosse in the 3-pack with a Leander on the far side. First Leander we've seen in the tournament, and I'm excited to see that ship. Scotto, what do we have over on the SULSO team?
The Alone and Unafraid guy is a Zara, and in the main pack, our destroyer is a Minakaze. We've got an Alaska B and a Vladivostok.
Oh my goodness. I think these are both relatively well-picked teams. I'm a little curious about the Montecuccoli pick, but here we go. Let's see how she does. I mean, she's good. I think, isn't it a heavy? How big are the guns on Montecuccoli? Does anyone know? I don't know.
I can tell you in a second.
if you don't mind looking.
I didn't happen to have ship tools sorted to Montecuccoli.
I should have had that up too, but I'm
Give
driving
me a
the camera.
second.
Thanks, boss. Hey, as we take a look at the action here while Scott is looking that up, Mogador is driving towards the Delta Cap at speed. Let me see if he's using his. That looks to be a speed-boosted Mogador, I think, by the darkness of the smoke there. Montecuccoli's rolling in, and Friedrich de Grossa is following in as well. Leander is coming in. We've got our first shots fired from Freddy over here for Alaska. Alaska is very broadside. And the shots are a little high and wide. Responding fire coming from Zara and Alaska. Alaska's racing to get behind that island in order to be safe. I'm hoping, for that player's sake, at least, that they can, while Green is doing the work. Do we got any information?
Ralph in the production office has fed into my ear that the Raimondo Montecuccoli has 4x2 152s.
They're 152s, okay. I was like, are those heavies? I didn't know. We've got an Ares fan in chat. Hello, Flatulent Fox. Oh, Zara taking a big hit. I didn't see the source of those shells, unfortunately. Vladivostok sending a salvo out. Let's follow these ones in. I think they might be going for Leander? Oof,
Montecuccoli
did catch a piece of Monty over there. We do have a green cap here. That is Cap Charlie. Cap Bravo is red. No one has touched A. We've decided to have a 4v4 fight over Delta.
And the Minakaze is about to enter Delta, and there's a Mogador there.
This is a fight we don't normally see.
That's not something that anybody's ever really had to say before.
No, never. Minakaze, extremely low detect, very good destroyer at its tier, but it is definitely outclassed by the guns of Mogador. If Minakaze gets spotted, it's in big trouble. But Team Green, Ares, does not have any radar. There's no way they can spot that ship without Minakaze having a chance to run away. That said, no Minakaze would ever be able to outrun a Mogador. This is a very dangerous situation for the little Japanese destroyer. Vladivostok
taking a lot of focus fire from Leander and from Freddy's secondaries for a while there.
Beautiful camouflage on that Vladivostok. As he responds, shots heading over here for Freddy. Oof, not too effective, unfortunately. Leander's staying out of the fight. Leander's range is very short, but Leander's a very capable ship. Go ahead.
One thing that we just missed is the Alaska moved past this gap on the island where the little town is. Montecuccoli put a strong sap salvo into that Alaska, and it hurt him. And that's another thing no one's ever had to say in World of Warships.
That is just some of the glorious action that we can get right here at Clash of the Classes. This is one of the reasons I wanted to do this tournament. When Hold My Beer reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to do Clash of the Classes? I said, you got a rule book? And he gave me the rules. I read them. I said, yep, I'm in. Let's do it. This looks cool, dude. And that is the kind of stuff that you just don't see in clan battles. You just don't see in ranked. It's an Alaska getting slapped around by a Montecuccoli. Zara has taken some hits too, by the way. Check this guy. He's a little low on hit points. Go ahead.
He is low on hit points. Montecuccoli making a break for Alpha, almost in the Alpha cap now. And alone over there doing it.
Golden Shellback is the player piloting that Montecuccoli. He's going to tell everybody about the time he shot Alaska right in the face as he takes the Alpha cap away from Red Team. Mogador is still blocked by Minakaze and Delta. That's really not going that well for Team Green. They'd love to have that cap, but unfortunately, without stepping out there, Mogador is not going to be able to locate the Minakaze. Team Green really needs some vision, and they just don't have it. They do have great lines of sight on Vladivostok, and they've had opportunities on Zara as well. I do feel like Vlad has given up too many hit points. I'm hoping, for his sake, that he can come up with some way to get a few back.
Just moments ago, Freddy and Vlad exchanged a couple big AP salvos, and obviously Vlad was much lower to begin with. But between that and the Mogador being in range, and you can just see that Mogador is just farming away. That's a rough situation to be in, but the battleship's doing its job. It's keeping everybody's attention.
That's right. Montecuccoli's pushing around the back now. Look at this. He's going to come in and attempt to back Cap Bravo. My expectation is he's going to pull up here and use this island to hide from Alaska. I believe Monty has torpedoes. Let me scooch in there since Ralph in the programming office didn't tell us about that.
Montecuccoli does have 2x2 533s with a 10-kilometer range. They're your standard Italian sea mines.
Okay, so they're very slow in terms of speed. Interesting. We'll have to see how those work. It doesn't look like he's making for that island like I thought he might. He might be keeping range to stay unspotted, whereas pulling into that island would probably draw an engagement with the red team.
Yeah, his detectability without any kind of improvements would be 11.3. So with captain, you're not going to run a concealment mod on a tier 5, but with a captain, his detectability is in the 10-kilometer range.
Yeah,
and there we see he's using his fuel smoke.
There you go. Yeah, he's going to try to secure that cap. Zara's out here offering up too much broadside for my taste, but he's still alive and keeping himself moving. If he's got fuel smoke, he might be able to break detection. If he's not careful, Freddy's eventually going to land a salvo on him. Minikaze torps coming for Frederick de Grossa. It looks like at least
rushing
one.
the Alaska.
Oh my goodness, let's get in on it. Oh man, the torpedoes land and a few shots as well. Montecocoli supporting the action from the smoke over here with some slow boy torpedoes on their way in as well. Mogador was hoping for more there and he didn't get it. Is it enough to bring down the Alaska, or is Mogador going to have thrown away his ship for a huge...
from the other side.
Woo! Mogi's got torps both sides. Look at him clean it up. Soviet Angel with the kill on the tier 9. Well done, Mogador. Zara bringing some shots in. Mogador is low, but hopefully he can get unspotted. Zara goes down, Minikaze remains, and that is it on SULSO.
Mogador is burning.
Gonna move in there. We may see the extinguishment of Soviet Angel. Ooh, puts the fire out, 658 hit points. That's 657 more than he needs to win this game. Minikaze is probably not going to be able to make this happen, guys. So we're looking at a very likely win for Team Ares, as Minikaze hopes to get a few torpedoes on Freddy, but no dice on that launch.
Ares and Montecocoli just cruising around grabbing caps, and then they decide at the end they're just going to go for the power move with that Mogador play, and that was impressive.
That was very, very well architected. Great strategy by those guys. You know, we looked at that Montecocoli and raised an eyebrow, but it was well employed. You cannot say they did not use that ship well. More torpedoes coming out of Minikaze. Very fast reloading torps from Mini, but while he is spotted, looks like he is spotted. He's going to be in a real world of hurt here. Sorry, I had to watch those torpedoes and I couldn't talk at the same time. Freddy is taking a lot of torpedo damage, but I don't think it's going to change the outcome of the game here. As SULSO runs from the 3 ships laying into him, that's going to be the end of this battle. And Montecocoli making it happen. Well done. That is not something I expected to see.
Again, wild ship selections is what we're seeing is the hallmark of this tournament, and it's a lot of fun.
That was actually a really clever move played by the Minikaze right there. He waited till he was behind the island and he took a shot at the Mogador. He could have brought the Mogador down, and if he had, that would have bought him at least a little time and maybe an opportunity to torpedo somebody. Don't think he was going to wind up losing the match, however, or I should say winning the match. However, that was a smart way to try to fight a higher tier destroyer like that. Man, excellent play all around. Okay, let's head back to the old chat studio.
Definitely be keeping ship tool loaded on your tier 5 Italian cruisers from here on out.
Yeah, we got to keep
that's the hard part of this, is when I want to go over and pull stats like that on something I haven't played in a while. It's like I got to go through a lot of things. Go, what tier is this and what nation? And it's not like, well, this whole tournament's all tier 8s, right? So it's not as quick a thing for me to pull up. But Ralph in the studio, he did what he could there.
Thanks, Ralph. You know, I've been really using the selected. There's the filter option, but the menu item just to the left of that, you can just type in the name and hit enter. I found that very fast when I want a specific ship. And if you'd like to learn more about that, you can check it out on my recent YouTube video, which is all about my favorite online tools for players who want to be informed about World of Warships. Okay, our next battle is going to be between NDL-13 and Unholy. Sounds pretty cool, honestly. Let me get their names typed in here. In the meantime, let me throw on the background real quick. I will bring up the standings here and let you guys kind of watch these scroll by. Okay, our next battle, NDL-13 and Unholy. We're going to be playing this on Trident in the Clans Domination configuration. This is one of my favorite maps for competitive play. I don't know if everybody likes Trident, but I do. Who wants Trident? I do. Let's go to the Trident configuration here. We've got the old map squared away, 3 caps across, and of course it is shaped like a trident. You can see that it's got the 3-pronged, I guess, trident piece over on the one side there. We'll talk a little bit about strategy here once I've secured our game room and we figured out where we want to be. But I'll let the viewers at home take a look at what's going on the map there. They can talk amongst themselves. We do have a password on this room as well, Scotta. It's the one I sent you earlier.
I have entered this room and they have put me on one of the teams, so I may not be able to talk as much during this one.
I hope you get a play. I hope so, buddy. Let's see. This is...
It's going to be really exciting for everybody when I
this
go out
guy.
the Alvarado Bazan or whatever I have in my
Yeah,
board.
find some wacky test ship and... I think I have the password there, correct? Rokiri says no solo warrior this time. You know, the Minikaze was in a tough scenario.
You're also now on the team. It's great. Let's...
They've got us assigned. What team did they assign us to? Unholy?
Yeah, not their team, right? The guy running the room is like anybody in here.
I'm letting them know what's going on.
Sharing with them that we weren't sure what we were going to be playing and that it got tense for a moment.
Yeah, sorry guys, we're chatting amongst ourselves over here. We just let those guys know. We rolled in, some guys like, hey, those wrecked guys are not with us. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't want us on your team either. We do have all 8 players here.
There's a few guys in rec that I would say should be able to
could hang
this, no,
on the tournament play. So in
these
Trident,
guys are hot to trot. They are ready to go.
These guys are eager and ready. They want to get rolling. We won't have a whole lot of time to talk about Trident strategy, but we'll try to call that out as we get into the battle. I'm going to let them know that we're ready too. Oh, they don't care that we're ready. I was going to say, streamers ready. All right, well, let's get on over to the match here. We've got NDL-13. That's going to be Team Green on your screen if you're playing the home game, and Unholy is going to be Team Red. That seems appropriate, the Unholy being devilishly red. On Team Green, this is NDL-13. We have a Vladivostok flanked by Albemarle, which blows my mind. That is a ship we have not seen in this tournament. A Helena and a Kagero. Now, Albemarle does have great HE alpha, and the ranges won't be an impact in this kind of tournament, but it is not the tankiest ship. Scott, what do we got over there on Team Red?
Red team has brought in an Eigel, a Schumfon, a Baltimore, and a Prinz Ruprecht.
Okay. Prinz Ruprecht, I think, is that the first or second one of those I think second one of those we've seen in the
second
tournament.
one. I think the second one. Definitely we've seen Baltimore a lot. I don't think we'd seen Schumfon yet. I don't think we've seen Eigel yet.
I think that's correct as well. This island right here is likely, I should say, to be the center of the attentions of this match. We'll have players parking on the north and southern sides of it and using that as a anchor for defense. We may have a flanker come up around this outside, and we may see ships running out wide to Charlie. Let's take a look at the red team's initial movements. In fact, they're all kind of turning eastward towards the Charlie cap. This is not the most common maneuver, but staying together can be a very wise thing to do, especially in a match where you've got just 4 ships and every hit point on your team is critical for your success. If we swing across the map over here to the green team, we're actually seeing a sort of similar deployment. Green is moving to the east on the Charlie cap as well, largely as a 4-pack, but we are seeing Helena kind of take a slightly different line, perhaps waiting to see what we spot before deciding whether they're going towards Charlie or the Alpha cap.
Red team definitely employing the it's dangerous to go alone strategy.
Yeah, 100%. These guys are chilling together in a very close fashion, which means that if they spot a ship, they could be setting up for a nice crossing the T scenario. Look at these guys in a row. If a ship gets spotted about where the camera is parked right now, they can all get shots on that ship and really focus that player down. I'm going to pull the camera back a little bit here, and we'll take a look at what's going to happen. This has the potential to be a very short and very furious match, depending on how effective these guys are at stacking damage on one another.
Looks like Shumfan has chosen to break hard now for Bravo behind that island.
Absolutely. Eigel is smoking in Baltimore because I'm guessing we've got some spots occurring. Shumpan has opened his guns, and so has Ruprecht, all focused on Kagero. Now, if the red team can bring down Kagero, if NDL can, if Unholy can delete this Kagero, it really opens up a lot of options for them, because the Albemarle, the Helena, these ships do not have radar. Kagero is their spotting, it is their sensor, and without Kagero, Team Green is going to be a lot more blind than Team Red, which both would still have a destroyer and a radar. Looks like Kagero has broken that lock and has escaped, at least for the time being. Chumpan is bringing some shots on Albemarle, although these ones are going to land a little bit behind the ship.
Albemarle has fired off its hydros.
Yeah, that's going to be helpful as those Eigel torpedoes and Chumpan torps are coming in. Yeah.
And Eigel, making his way across now for the Bravo cap, decided that Charlie was not worth hanging out in.
Yeah, it looks that way. Kagero's
he got spotted, and he took a shot from the Vladivostok.
Ouch. Yeah, big shot too. It lost about 4,000 hit points, 3,500 hit points. Baltimore is in Charlie, just in the nick of time, blocking it. The scores remain locked at 300 apiece. Ruprecht pushing out a little bit wide and hopefully able to get a line of sight. It seems like that's what he's trying to do. Maple's trying to get out here wide to take shots at any of these cruisers or even the Vladivostok if he can. Eigel's taking a moment to catch his breath behind this island, but I think he's probably going to push around and try to step up into B. I would guess he's going to move up here inside these buoys.
Baltimore really pushing up close now.
That is a very aggressive stance, especially for a cruiser that can't heal. Orbital Banana is taking this match seriously.
Looks like Eigel might be making his way all the way across to Alpha.
He could be, and he's got the speed to do it. That little ship is no slouch when it comes to getting his wheels going. Now, Eigel's torpedoes, I think, are 8 kilometers, so I'm not quite sure who these are intended for, although this map is always smaller than I think it is. Yeah,
I'd say he's chucking those for the Vladivostok, but I'm not
so.
sure if they have the legs from my point of view.
It looked like Vlad was about 9 kilometers away, maybe a little more. Helena at range, putting some shots on the Baltimore. Baltimore is suffering a little bit for that aggressive push earlier. He's got it in reverse, I would expect, and yes, he does. He's trying to get behind that island to protect himself. No island, or no armor better than an island. That's what Baltimore always says. Ruprecht is moving up. He's got a window on the Vlad.
Just about halfway through capping Alpha.
Yep, we're seeing that. Working on his third length of the diamond-shaped cap. Remember, each of those is 25% of the cap, so it's very easy to tell just about where we are. Torpedoes.
Those Eigel torps had the legs, but they didn't land true.
Nope. Vlad got pointed in, and that worked out. Red has capped. The Unholy team has capped the Alpha point, and C is all clear again. No longer is it mostly green capped. Kagero's throwing torpedoes at Ruprecht. Let's see how these go.
5 minutes in now, and that red cap over an Alpha is important. That's the only thing that's given them a separation in points lead.
That's right. 1 torpedo against Ruprecht with a second set of racks coming across. I think Ruprecht's probably going to take at least 1 more, unless he can really just sneak through, but it looks like 1, 2 torpedoes. Danger mode has been activated on board the Ruprecht. He's down to just 5,500 hit points. Albemarle could push up and take him out, but I think Albemarle would suffer from the Baltimore's strong AP salvo if that's the shell that he's got loaded. He's already being picked off by Shumpan over here as well. And Eigel, as you've said, is the only one putting points on the board. We're about to see potentially our first kills if either Baltimore or Ruprecht goes down.
And Vladivostok close to finishing a cap on Bravo.
We could have torps on Albemarle? No. No. Baltimore and Ruprecht trying with all their might to bring down the Albemarle and Shumpan. We could see Albemarle. Oh my gosh, what is happening?
Baltimore with a Citadel into the Albemarle up close like that. That's
incredible. Great play by Team Red. I thought either Baltimore or Ruprecht was going down, but they turned that around quickly. Both those ships are low. Balti will not be able to heal any back. Ruprecht should eventually be able to get a hull repair cooked off as long as he can stay away from these Kagero torpedoes, which is what put him in that dangerous situation in the first place.
Helena drifted over and took Alpha back from the Unholy team, and is over there now, sitting in that cap with its hydros up.
Yeah, we're seeing that. That cap has flipped green, as you've indicated. Torpedoes from Eagle going to come by and not do anything. This has turned into a very exciting match with Shumpan kind of chilling in the middle and holding court there over Bravo Cap. Unfortunately for Red, it looks like NDL has 2 caps to 1. Gosh, this is a very, very tight match. Ruprecht has gone down. You might have commented on that. Sorry if I missed it.
Yeah, and NDL now has taken the points lead. They've moved ahead.
Yes, they have. Baltimore is not going to be able to bring down Vladivostok without a lot of help. It's going to need deep water torpedoes from Shumpan to help, and there they are. They've released them. So we're hoping that, or Shumpan is hoping that those torps are going to find a home. But if they do, it's going to require Vlad to turn in. Now, I think that's a relatively reasonable assumption. We're starting to see that corner. Will it work? Baltimore's got the reverse happening. Good luck to him. In the meantime, Shumpan managed to catch a glimpse of Kagero somehow.
Baltimore
Kagero,
used his radar.
He radared, didn't he? Yeah. Fantastic. That is putting Shumpan in danger, but if he can complete that Kagero kill, that changes the equation here just a little bit. Those torps for Vlad look solid, Skada. Oh my goodness. How many? Maybe just 1? Or is he going to dodge them all? He's going to take 1.
Yeah, and Shumpan took a lot of damage coming out there and opened it up before getting his smoke up.
He did. I think he was hoping to be able to connect the dots with that Kagero, and it just didn't wind up happening. Helena might have a kill shot on him here. Yep. Helena has like 15 guns, I want to say. Isn't it 5 3-barrel guns? It's a very, very powerful salvo against a similarly armored cruiser, and we just saw that play out. There goes Baltimore. Things have just gotten very dark for the captain of the Eagle. He's on his own versus 3 ships, and the caps are not looking to be favorable for Team Red.
Now, to be fair, Kagero's like 1 salvo away from dying if he's spotted, but having to engage in a gunfight with that Helena out there is really hard for most destroyers in those tiers.
Agreed. And I'll say at tier 7, there are a few ships that I fear more than a Helena when he can spot me in my destroyer. Just, it's so many guns. There are these big 152s. He's trying to take out Helena first. Honestly, that's a pretty smart maneuver. Vlad is going to try to make it difficult on him. Helena's turning in to make that angle difficult for Eagle to get pins. He's going to have to switch to HE if he's going to want to make any progress, and I'm sure that's what's coming next here. AP's remaining in the tubes here. Helena oversteered just a little, but not enough to really put him in a situation where Eagle's getting those free pens. AP continuing to come from Eagle, and that is, oh my gosh, I can't believe he survived that salvo. Torpedoes out, and that's the end of Eagle.
Nicks the kill. A Japanese gunboat Kagero.
Classic Kagero, stealing kills from Helena.
It is really classic maneuver from your Japanese torpedo destroyer captains.
The ones that know what they're doing. That was great play. Honestly, that was a very exciting battle. I didn't know what was going to happen from moment to moment until suddenly they cleaned up and brought down a couple of those players from Unholy. So congratulations to NDL 13 on that battle. Well done. GG's being exchanged here in the chat room. I'm going to go ahead and bail out of that training battle. Very exciting action today. It feels like we've really seen some really well done plays, some very controlled movement, and some excellent shooting from teams today. I won't say that we didn't see that yesterday, but it's just game after game of exciting contests today.
It really is, and I'm excited to see more interesting ship choices and more things come into play. I think one of the things we talked about last night after the show was, hey, we hadn't seen any Pan-Asian cruisers, and we have tonight. We've seen Ramat, we've seen Shumpan, so they're now there. We're seeing those with their deep water torpedoes, their smoke, and their HE guns sparking it. So it's kind of interesting to see some of those make it into the tournament.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And one thing I noticed that we haven't seen tonight, and maybe if I call this now, we'll see it when we get to the championship brackets next weekend, is, Pan-Asian destroyers, maybe radar destroyers, anything like that. I think, again, like we talked, people are spending their points on cruisers primarily, maybe battleships. And so we're not spending points on high tier destroyers like that, but we haven't seen a radar DD yet, so maybe we need a bingo card for this as we do the tournament, and maybe as I watch some streams during the week, we'll do some of that as well. Our next team is going to be. Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I'm kind of, I do think it'd be likely that you could see like a Shenyang or something like that. But one thing we have noticed really consistently is that I think yesterday we only saw one non-smoke destroyer. And so it seems that the teams are really valuing the ability to put down that smoke screen, if not for the DD, but also to help smoke in some cruisers.
Yeah, it's actually been really interesting to watch teams smoking in cruisers and teaming with that smoke, right? We've seen teams that have not employed that tactic and teams that have employed that tactic. And that's one of those things where, we talk a lot of the time when we talk about clan battles and things for our group, we don't really employ those tactics very much. So for me, it's educational and interesting. I love watching that level of play happen. And of course, we're getting front row seats to all of that action as we work the tournament today. Our next battle is going to be between VCWE and Ares. Now, we had Ares in our second battle today, so 2 battles ago versus SULSO, and I think, Ares won that battle. That's right. It was the FDG versus the Vladivostok battle that we watched a couple battles back. So we expect to see another good showing from Ares. I haven't seen a game from VCWE just yet, so we'll have to see how they stand up against the challenge. And the other thing I'm interested in is seeing whether or not Ares is going to bring the same ship lineup or if they're going to change their formula.
Right, you are. And if we can actually remember what their ship lineup was last time, then even better for us.
I know. It was FDG. I think they were the guys with the Montecuccoli, the Fantask, FDG, and right. Minakaze, I think? No, they killed Minakaze.
Minakaze? I don't know. No, didn't they have a Laterable?
Yeah, they had Laterable. The Fantask. They had Fantask. It was another cruiser.
Alaska, right?
Oh, no, that's all of them. Alaska, Montecuccoli, Fantask, and FDG. Yep, that was their lineup before. So we'll watch for that again and see if things have changed. I'm going to try to find that room.
I have not seen it yet, so...
Yeah, we've had really good luck with folks setting up rooms.
That last match started a little early, and this one isn't started. It's supposed to start for a while, so we may have a really long...
a bit of a gap
break where we have to
speak carefully,
stretch for content.
Let me see if I can find we can see if we can find the match on here. I don't know if VCWE has been hosting rooms all night. The way the tournament's organized is there's like 4 or 5 anchor teams that just host a room all night, and other folks show up and participate in those, and that is not always the case. VCWE. Yeah, VCWE has not been hosting rooms all night. When is that game scheduled to start?
6:10.
Oh my, 12 minutes. Well, are you guys ready for story time?
We've got a little story time. Let's change direction just briefly.
What do you got?
You mentioned that you have new YouTube content hitting your channel tomorrow, but can you talk a little bit about last Friday's new YouTube video?
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. We did have a video go up on Friday, and it's actually something that you and I've talked a lot about. It turns out everyone at home, my YouTube channel is largely populated with the results of conversations between Skada and myself. You and I talk a lot about ships. We talk about when we do streams like this, or when we do content for the stream about clan battles or upcoming new coal ships, new research point ships, new steel ships, or whatever. A lot of that is you and I having the conversations we would have in my pickup at lunch, but on stream so that other people can engage with us and be a part of those conversations. So on Friday,
go ahead. I want to throw in there really quick, graciously, right? When this whole crazy idea of you being a content creator started, you always mention how I said, hey, you had a really good battle. You should turn that into a YouTube video. I don't even remember what it was in. Was it Chung Mu? I know there's a lot of Chung Mu videos from early on in the channel.
The first video ever, let's talk about it, was Daring. I had a 200,000 damage game in Daring, which for me is like unheard of. That doesn't happen.
That's great.
And you were with me. I think you were in like Nevsky or something. And
I remember. I torped somebody and died right away. It was a terrible match in the Nevsky. I remember that.
I don't think it was that bad, but yeah,
it wasn't good.
It might not have been your best, but yeah, we did that a long time ago, and you were like, hey, you should put that on YouTube, and I said, okay, because I like making videos. I always have, and so we put that together. But anyway, so on Friday, I kind of scraped together this list of all of the best tools that we have in World of Warships. In fact, I can probably bring up the title card for the video here and show you guys what it looks like. But all of my favorite online tools, things like ShipTool or WOW's numbers, and a bunch of tools that maybe you guys are less familiar with as well. And I explain what they are, how to use them. I give you all the URLs and walk you through it. Now, a lot of you guys have probably been playing World of Warships for every bit as long as I have. Here's our video, which is about 7 years. And you might know all of this stuff. And some of you might be thinking, well, I already know all that. I don't need that video. But maybe you know somebody who's new to the game and you'd like to share with them some of the tools that you use, but you don't want to sit there and explain it all to them. Well, you're in luck because I recorded it and I put it on YouTube, so you can just send that off to your folks if that is of help to you. So that's a relatively new video, just went up live on Friday morning. And we will, like you mentioned, we'll have a video going live on Monday morning as well. That's tomorrow for me in this part of the world. And I can't really talk about that content just yet, but it should be something that's of interest, I think, to a large number of folks. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, things that is interesting to a large number of folks, keep your eye on the channel, and hopefully you'll find that video useful as well.
Clyde, you never put out videos on a Monday. What possible reason could you be putting out a video on a Monday?
It could be that somebody else told me when this video could go live. And I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to get any closer to that. By the way, we had a raid a few minutes ago. Clyde the Monkey showed up and dropped off a nice little raid of viewers. Clyde and viewers, thanks for coming and hanging out today. I hope you guys are still here. You're having a good time with us. I've got my notifications turned off because we are doing tournament play. So I apologize. I missed y'all. And so by the time you hear this, it will be 16 minutes after you guys raided in. I hope you're having a good time with us, and I hope your stream went fantastically, sir. Clyde the Monkey is the other World of Warships Clyde, the original, and frankly, a class act all the way.
Yeah, the one that is from the now recently famous Jingles video with the whole right turn Clyde
right
stuff,
turn
right?
Clyde,
like,
yes.
Like that always gets appended to you, and you're like, it's not me. There's another Clyde, and he is very great, and he's a very good player, and
excellent Clydes out there.
A very fun streamer. So.
Yeah, I get people stopping by and going, right turn, Clyde. And I go, I know that you guys like saying that, and some of you probably know that it's not me, but you're doing it anyway. And A, I still appreciate it, but B, make sure you send that love back to Clyde the Monkey as well. Some
people may just be fans of the 1977 Clint Eastwood vehicle, Any Which Way But Loose. Featuring the fun movie with Clint Eastwood and an orangutan, or the sequel, Any Which Way You Can.
Right turn, Clyde.
The room is now up finally, so I'm going to join.
Alrighty, I am going to go back to what map is this one? Solomon Islands. Let me go to Solomon's. We'll throw this up here while you guys are doing stuff. And I am going to find our way to the room. I can't remember who's doing this one. Oh, that's right. We are joining the room here. In Solomon Islands, we talked about this a bunch yesterday. This is a very, very challenging map because of the tall islands that split the party, if you will. They split they split your ships, your fleet, if you will, in different ways, so that it's very difficult to support yourselves if you split up and go towards opposite ends. You can't really shoot over the islands, and what that does is it tends to form smaller skirmishes around the map. in last night's battles, we did see an Azuma of all ships go around the southern end towards Alpha and then cut back up towards B, but sailing that far ended up costing that player a lot of time. For the benefit of the folks who are going to be running tonight, Scott, I mean, where, if you were starting on the, let's say, the northwest side of this map, what would your initial deployment look like to try to make sure you're capitalizing on the best value? What's your preferred approach?
If I'm on the northwest side, probably the cap that's in the northeast corner and the center, right? I don't think you want to spread out for all three. You just need to pick middle and one of the other ones. So I think yesterday what we saw with the northwest spawn team was they did the southern cap and the center cap. That's fine, but if you're gonna leg it out, this map is deceptively long. Like, it feels like there's long transit times with that island blocking everything. And we think about it in the concepts of doing it in low tiers, because normally you play this map in 3s and 4s and sometimes 5s, right? But even then, some of those destroyers in those low tiers, you can get up to 40 odd knots and it still feels like a long trip.
Yeah, I agree. I think my initial deployment would be the same. I'd go for the Bravo Charlie caps. That's the center cap and the northeast cap as well. I just find the approach to Charlie a little bit more, it feels closer. I don't know if it really is, but I guess, that's up to people's perceptions. If you're going to do that alpha charge, I prefer it from the southeastern side, because like, as you see on the map there, it does kind of lean a little bit towards that southeastern team. So we could run over that way and then jump up to support the skirmish at B. Now, the trouble with B is it can be a very violent and bloody place to be. We're really hoping, when you approach B, you're really hoping to get a kill but not be killed. And it can be a tricky thing to manage in there because it's such a narrow channel and often so full of torpedoes.
Right. I mean, if you and the teams know what maps they're going to be playing on ahead of time, right? And so if you're like, I don't know that I want something that's really, I don't know if I would value anything with extremely long gun range on this map. I think the engagements are going to be happening closer. I think I'd want, mid-range rate of fire over long range.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the long range is just not going to be beneficial until the late game, when usually it's decided anyway, right? By that time, right, you're pushed around to one side and you're just trying to pick somebody off. You might get a really lucky shot. It might work out really well for you, but it might not, right? And so, in that case, I agree with you. I'd go with something powerful, mid-range gunnery. 15 kilometers is probably more than enough to do anything. And of course, maybe thinking about something with some speed. As you commented, and I'm going to reiterate, the teams know what maps they're going to. So they could be building a unique ship comp for every map to exploit the geography and everything that affects the play on that map. So you could see somebody bringing in a fast tier 8 destroyer, a Le Fantasque, a Le Terrible, and using that to run down to Alpha and then get back up, or to run up to Charlie and get back down. Whereas they might not want that ship on another build because they want to spend those points in another way. Just the depth of the strategy in building up your teams and understanding how to get through a night of Clash of the Classes is just so interesting. Even if it's all hypothetical for you and I find it to be just a fun conversation.
Yeah, it really scratches the itch that you and I have for the strategy in the game, and this really plays with that interestingly in the way that it's across the tiers, across the nations, and how the limitations are. And I don't really feel that hamstrung by things that they have banned. The banned list again is
rather short.
Tier 10 specials and tier 10 premiums, and very few people are even looking at tier 10s, and that might be different if you could bring Ohio or something, but it's Belfast, it's Paolo Emilio, and then not banned, but Musashi, if you bring it, costs the same as a Yamato, right? It would cost the team more than a tier 9 premium normally would. The only other ban I can think of without having it right in front of me is because the new British battle cruiser line is not fully available in the game, those are all banned.
Yeah, and we talk about that Musashi. It's a special bullet point in the rules. If you guys want to check those out, clashoftheclasses.net, click on the rules at the top of the screen. Looking at the Musashi costing the same number of points as Yamato, you might as well just bring Yamato. right? Yamato has better Sigma. It's going to be a more accurate battleship for you, and you're going to find yourself just being worse off if you take Musashi. So effectively, in my opinion, Musashi's banned. There may be some attribute I'm not thinking of, but
the only reason I could see is if you had somebody that had Musashi and they didn't have Yamato. And
I suppose that's a possibility.
That, right?
I was that player for a long time, but I don't think you want to slot me into a battleship in a competitive mode. Yeah, I'm just very interested to see what's happening. Now, remember, Ares, we talked about their lineup before. It was Friedrich der Grosse, Alaska, Le Fantasque, and Montecuccoli. And we are going to see if those guys bring those same ships into this different map, this different geography, if they've just decided to stick with the reliable ships in order to not change the tools they're using to get the work done today, or if they're going to bring something totally different. We've got two players from them in so far, and they are two players we saw before. It was the Fat Batman and the Golden Shell, I think was his screen name. Golden Shellback.
Yeah.
He was the Montecuccoli captain.
I do believe that the part of the rules are that your team has a limited number of players that are available, and if you are making a change in your lineup, you have to run that past the organizers.
Yeah, I believe you're allowed 6 players, 4 of which can be in any match, of course, because it's just 4 ships. And then you're allowed to have a 7th guy or gal who can be literally anyone. It's a merc. You can actually get a merc if you need to. And that merc can even be on another team that's in the tournament. So it's fairly permissive, but your lineup does need to be consistent for the evening, right? It needs to be consistent. Now, I don't think that means consistent for the players you're taking in, but consistent for the players that are in that 6-player roster. We do have all 8 players in. They're calling for ready. I think they care if streamers are ready, but I'm going to tell them we are. Did I set up the names? Now that is a question. I did, because I'm so prepared. Good job.
But we did have plenty of times.
I know. Okay, things did change a little bit. They've gone Friedrich der Grosse is the same captain in that one. Riga is now what the Montecuccoli captain was driving. We've got a Mutsuki I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong team there. Hatsuharu and an Emil Bertin, an entirely new lineup with the exception of Friedrich der Grosse. So let's cover the red team. We just did it. I'm going to do it again. Friedrich der Grosse paired with Riga, Hatsuharu, and Emil Bertin. Different ships, but all the same slots in terms of point cost and class and everything. Scott, what do we have on Team Green?
Matsuki, Emerald, Baltimore, and a Schlieffen. Second showing for the Schlieffen today for us.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's true. We do have a Schlieffen. We've got an Emerald. Emerald is not quite as good as the Leander, but we'll see how it plays out. Emerald is making a beeline. It looks like down for Alpha. We're starting and making a run for Alpha. On the enemy team, Emil Bertin is the opposite cruiser, who seems to be moving forward in order to contest or support the contest of Bravo Cap. We're seeing 3 ships move up towards Charlie. We're going to have a fight up here, it looks like, because 3 green ships are also in the realm of Charlie as well. Hatsuharu leading the line in, Soviet Angel, the pilot of that ship, with Golden Shellback and Fat Batman behind. Mutsuki, Baltimore, Schlieffen, similar arrangement. Destroyer, cruiser, and battleship, but Mutsuki's turning off towards Bravo.
Yeah, it does look like Mitsuki's going to stick his toe into Bravo and try to make that happen. And he's going to encounter that Emil Bertin there, who's probably going to dig in. There's a nice spot you can get in there to cap and kind of be behind that island and protected.
Yeah, I'm suspecting we'll see Emil come up on this side, Mitsuki on the opposite, which could lead to a Bravo Cap stalemate, which might be the best option for both teams. It will be a little bit better for green as long as Baltimore and Schlieffen don't lose a lot of hit points, while Emerald grabs the Alpha Cap. Hatsuharu's taking.
The fight has started.
Yeah,
Baltimore just used their hydros. Riga just used its radar. So these guys are now duking it out over here over Charlie.
Yep. Once sensors are being used, people are serious. We do have some shots coming from Schlieffen. These appear to be secondaries coming for Riga. They're focusing those secondaries on the radar cruiser, which of course is a logical choice. That is a very capable platform that you do not want your enemy to be able to have uncontested. Charlie Cap is mostly red, but blocked by Baltimore. Baltimore is doing a very tough job, which is standing on a cap that is being contested by 3 ships. Schlieffen turning away. This is putting Baltimore in a very dangerous position should FDG and Riga choose to push around.
This is the thing we talked about on this map. Look at that lonely Emerald. He still has not got into Alpha.
Yeah, it's a long run down there. We are 2 minutes and 43 seconds into the battle, and he's just about to crest into the edge of the Alpha cap. Hopefully that pays off. They get enough points out of it that it's worth the long run. How's Baltimore doing up here? Looks like he's thrown it in reverse. He's pulling back around. He's going to have to let the red team... Oh, no, he's going to try to stay in. He's not going to let the red team take the cap.
He is holding that point, and he's waiting for that. Freddy's going to have to push out and dislodge him at this point. It looks like that might be their strategy.
These ships are within 2.5 kilometers, which means they are proximity spotted. Everyone can see both Baltimore and Hatsuharu. There is no mystery about what Freddy is going to drive around the corner and get engaged with. He might not know where Schlieffen is unless... Emil is able to spot him with this fighter that he just deployed. So now FDG's probably got all the intel he needs, even though the fighter has evaporated.
Schlieffen making that turn out there, kind of an interesting maneuver. I thought he might be planning to go super aggressive and cut across B to try to get to the flank of the Riga. And the Bertine, obviously.
Look at this. Emerald is ditching A. Oh, wait. Is he putting it back in reverse?
Well, it's too late now.
He fell out of the cap. That is going to cost them, unless Emerald can come around and make something happen, kill Emil Bertine, which would really change the equation. Oh, Baltimore.
Baltimore is just getting punished by that pushing Freddy. He had to back out of the cap, and now he's just getting annihilated.
Yeah, if Schlieffen can put something amazing downrange, it might work. Torpedoes launched from Schlieffen do have the legs to get out there to Freddy. They could get caught up and tangled on the Baltimore, but I think that's a risk you're willing to take, especially with the lack of friendly fire in World of Warships.
The Emerald has engaged the Emil Bertine. He's back in Alpha, and he's shooting at Emil Bertine. Emil Bertine has left Bravo, and so now they're capping. VCWE is capping Bravo.
We can see that the FDG has finished the kill on Baltimore. That's taking Party Boy X-Dan out of the match, and Mutsuki is smoking up. If Schlieffen just goes into a secondary posture here, he'll be able to basically shoot undetected with secondaries only. That could buy them a little bit of damage for free, which they're definitely going to need now that they're down a ship. Mutsuki's taken some heat there. I'm going to guess that Riga's got radar up. Yep, you can see the green sensor emanations from the upper portion of the ship. Shots going for Mutsuki, and main battery shots, secondaries and main battery shots going for Mutsuki as well. If they can eliminate that destroyer, the tide of this game is very well established in Red Team's favor. Emerald is finishing up the cap on Alpha. Again, just so far away from the rest of the match, and also kind of parked in a sidewards fashion. Sidewards is not a word, but he's putting a few shots on the Hatsuharu piloted by Soviet Angel. The torpedoes are launching here. I don't know that these are going to catch Schlieffen, but it is going to restrict Schlieffen's movement, perhaps forcing him to turn to the north, which would allow Freddy to get a big shot on him. Look at the hit points on FDGs, Scott. What's happened over here? I missed it.
You know what? I did as well, unfortunately. I was watching Hatsuharu and Emil Bertine's torp action over there. And
I think what's happened here is the secondaries from Schlieffen have done their work from that smoke. Unfortunately, we missed it, guys, but Freddy goes down. The ships are now 3-3. This is still anybody's game. 4 minutes on the clock with a slight point advantage for VCW at the moment.
And now the Schlieffen secondaries are working on Riga while Matsuki keeps him spotted, and Matsuki's got torps on his way heading that direction.
Yes, he does.
Now we see Schlieffen's starboard side secondaries are now working on the Emil Bertine.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of mileage out of those secondaries. Here come the torpedoes on Riga. Let's see how they land. I feel like we might get one if they've got the legs, but Riga could slip between these last two. Yep, no torpedoes landing on Riga. Mutsuki over here. Keeping the eyeballs on everything. Torpedoes coming from Hatsuharu. Emil Bertine pushing up, but getting some shots from the Emerald, who's down here in Alpha, being a problem. You know, Emerald has found a way to stay in this battle, even though they ran so far away. I don't know how much damage they're getting, but they're definitely being a distraction or something that these ships have to worry about, if not deal with.
Matsuki had to engage
close.
he had to engage with guns on Emil Bertine at that point. He was so spotted, so that is That's a dangerous SO, and there he goes.
Yep, Mitsuki is down, and once spotted at that proximity, I don't know that you have much other choice. Although Emil Bertin is versus Schlieffen. Emil Bertin is a tier 5 ship, ladies and gentlemen. This is a 5-tier difference between the secondaries on Schlieffen and the mains on Emil. Plus, Emil is getting peppered by Emerald fire from down here. Emerald's probably looking to make a move towards Bravo here very soon. There goes Schlieffen. It's a 1v3 at this point. I don't see how Ares lose this battle at this point. Well played. That battle could have gone either direction for most of what we watched tonight.
Yeah, tough situation again, and similar to the match we saw yesterday on this map, where ultimately one of the cruisers made that long run to Alpha and then kind of ended up out of the mix. In this one, Emerald's tried to stay in the mix as much as he could and got a lot of good shots back into Emil Bertin and the other guys in Bravo, but Emerald just doesn't have that gun DPM, I don't think, to make that last forever.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Now, this is still tournament play. Emil Bertin is doing smart things. He's getting his ship out of the way of danger. It doesn't matter where he goes, he just needs to be not near the Emerald, because 1,904 hit points can be taken away by Emerald with very little concern. Riga, a little bit more tanky. Certainly, the radar there could be beneficial too if Emerald decides to use his smoke. So he's moving up in there to support the kill there if need be. And Hatsuharu is regulating his distance between the cruiser in order to keep himself unspotted, and putting some torpedoes down there to make sure that Emerald doesn't just waltz in there fancy free, I guess, safe and fancy free. Emerald appears to be rolling in just to kind of maybe move on to the next battle. It looks like we're not seeing a strong.
I don't want to say that Emerald has a lot of hit points compared to the other cruisers down there.
Well, that is a true point. We did see the Montecuccoli take a chunk out of that Alaska. We might see something really exciting from the AP.
Emerald had a lot of hit points compared to those cruisers down there.
Oh boy, yeah, boy, that went quickly. The radar was up on Riga there at the very end. Definitely made it useless for Emerald to even attempt to pop his smoke. With that, Ares takes the victory over VCWE. Well played by all, but in the end, Ares is going to take it home. Whew.
Exciting. That was a fun match. That Solomon's map is rough.
It's really rough. I'd love to talk to some players about Solomon's when the tournament's over and see what it is that everybody learned throughout. I really think that's an interesting challenge. It might be a little bit of a static challenge, though. I wonder if, more stationary, tanky boats are the way to go, and then just ignore that South Cap. It's hard to say what would be a reliable strategy, and it might not be reliable match after match. It kind of depends, I think, on what you're up against.
It certainly was fun to see that Schlieffen hold court there and lob those secondaries.
Dude.
Two ships on either side and just chunk away. I would be interested to know what his final damage number was just from that.
Yeah, the fact that he was able to bring down the FDG impressed me, and it's so much so that I wasn't even watching it. I was like, well, we'll see. We'll come back later when these guys are both half dead. And I came back and FDG was on his way down. It just happened so fast, and that really speaks to the capability of the secondary armament on that battle cruiser.
Yeah, he must have had a nice main battery hit there too. And
I'm thinking so.
Schlieffen's main battery is not weak. Those are strong shells, and you park those into you're gonna have a hard time catching through the turtleback on the FDG. The FDG wasn't moving. It wasn't one of those situations where, like with FDG and Palmer, if it's turning hard, you can sneak under the turtleback and citadel it.
Right.
He was just up there, but putting those shells into the upper belt or the superstructure, you can still get nice chunky hits like that.
Yep. Oh, I'm entering a training room a little early. I think these guys... Oh, no, we're not early. Our next battle is going to be between Raider and JEDI. Or JEDI. Gosh darn it. I was thinking about foaming JEDI for some reason. That's funny. Or at least pronouncing it that way. Get these guys' names updated. We haven't had an opportunity to watch a JEDI game, so I wanted to make sure I got on the schedule for at least one today. These guys are going to be playing on our Epicenter map. This is Big Race. Let me switch over to that one here for us. This map really had an exciting match last night. We wound up having a couple of ships that weren't quite in a position to affect the battle. Excuse me, weren't quite in a position to affect the battle as they would have liked. And let me tell these guys that we are here to stream. These guys are not putting us in the spectator box. There we go. I think we're getting it squared away. They are ready. They do want to go.
Excellent.
There we go. We are in the spectators box. We're ready to go.
Epicenter.
Yeah, epicenter. It's 3 circles on top of each other, each one more concentric than the last.
And not arms race.
And it's not arms race. That's true. So we are all ready to go. Sorry about the dead air there for a sec, guys. We are looking at getting into our match here really quickly. Epicenter is going to be interesting. It draws ships together. It makes sensors a lot more valuable than they are in a more widespread match because we're expecting a higher density of ships around the objectives. Scott, thinking about epicenter, what kind of strategy do you think is the best? Do you want to, if you're a destroyer, are you going to rush into the middle of the cap, or are you going to hang maybe in the outer rings and see what happens first?
I think if you are in a destroyer like we see here with a sub, with a 5-4 conceal, you might as well try to touch into the middle. It also depends on the sensor loadout of what you're going against, if there's radar cruisers or what the situation is.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look at these lineups. I agree, I think, and especially with Eagle being the destroyer on the other side, I think your Minakaze stepping into the middle sounds like a reasonable thing to do. We've got Eagle, Makarov, Atlanta, and Pommern. This is a DPM-hungry team with the exception of Pommern. What do you got over there on Team Red?
Minakaze, Shores, Baltimore, and Prince Ruprecht.
Very interesting. Shores is a bit DPM-y. Baltimore's got excellent AP and nice radar. The Atlanta's radar is a little shorter range, I think, than Balti's. So we'll have to see how they utilize those sensors as we go into the match.
Looking at things like hit point totals in this one is interesting because I see an Atlanta and I see a Makarov and I think, boy, that team's going to be light on hit points versus that Baltimore and the Shores. They are light, but you've got a Pommern versus a Prinz Ruprecht, which are both tier 9 battleships, but Pommern has about 20,000, 18,000 more hit points. And so you're making trade-offs, right?
Yeah, that Pommern, you said 18,000 hit points is about right. I mean, it's a huge, heavy ship, but it does sink all of those hit points into one geographic location, right? So if we can wind up getting Shores, Minakaze torpedoes, and Baltimore HE all on that Pommern, it can be very dangerous. But of course, Pommern's no slouch, and it can deliver a very weighty salvo when requested. Eagle has been spotted and is taking a little bit of heat there. Smoke is being dropped there. I don't think that smoke's for Eagle. I think that's for Pommern. It's for Makarov. We don't seem to have eyes on Minakaze yet. Very low detect destroyer, which is right now safe in the middle.
Again, in that hit point game, right? Eagle 19,000 hit points, Minakaze 10,000. And so that's a big difference between those two. But the Minakaze's true armor and hit points is that incredibly low concealment.
That's right. You're going to use the ability to go dark and to stay dark, perhaps more realistically, instead of just tanking damage or taking damage. Atlanta takes a bit of a chunk there as he's approaching this island. Doesn't quite have the smoke cover that he would have liked to use that position more effectively. He is trying to get up here into that smoke, I think.
Baltimore pushing up aggressively here to get around and catch the sides of those guys. And, an Atlanta and a Makarov are both going to struggle versus that improved AP.
Yeah, Baltimore's AP salvo is very powerful, and here comes a great shot on Atlanta, it looks like. Misses. Atlanta using a little bit of the island there, scraping a bit of paint perhaps, and making his way around the corner to get behind that smoke. You can tell it's the only thing he wants in the whole wide world.
Baltimore did follow that salvo up, though, by taking a large chunk out of the Eagle.
He did, and he's moving up aggressively. We have not seen any slowdown from Baltimore. Radar is firing on Baltimore. And is this a steel camo? What is this? Steel camo Baltimore? Fancy.
Well, looking at the clan the gentleman's in, I'm not surprised.
That's true. Baltimore joining us from the Bonky clan today. Minakaze's pushing up here around the outside. Ruprecht throwing some torpedoes in there and getting his secondaries working on Pommern. The battleships have discovered one another, and now they are trying to decide exactly how this dance will go, while Shores seems to be Well, what is Shores doing? What do you think Shores' scheme is right there? Oh, he's got shots for Makarov. I see. Well done.
Yeah, it appears that Shore's position is holding that outer ring, right? He's going to work that
Yep.
outer ring. I think at this point, if I was in the Shores, I'd slip right into that mid ring because I think you could turn that right now. It doesn't seem like the other team, their Eigel just moved back into it, but they had to leave it alone for a while.
Yeah, and it looks like perhaps Shores is angling to get into a reverse posture. Oh, no, he's not. Yeah, but he might be turning so he can do exactly that. He can get into that intermediate ring because Ruprecht and Minikaze, as you've observed, are covering that outer ring just fine. Makarov and Atlanta were working.
Minikaze is spotted by Palmer, and Palmer secondaries and mains firing at Minikaze right now.
Yep, and you can see Mini has turned outward. That's a steel camo Mini. This is not funny. We're being serious. Steel camo Minikaze. He went very dark very quickly and got outside the ring. So Palmerin is in there sumo wrestling these guys out of that central cap. Atlanta keeping the heat on Baltimore, but this can be a very dangerous game if Baltimore is able to catch this guy out with a lot of AP salvos.
I'm excited. I've been excitedly watching this Palmer and Prince Ruprecht duel, right? the 2 tier 9 German battleships that are both very popular.
They are.
Prince Ruprecht, even though it's the lighter ship, has a heavier broadside in regards to caliber, but the Palmer definitely, with more barrels, comes back with those 380s. And because Prince Ruprecht isn't exactly the most armored of ships, those 380s are probably going to be able to do just fine if they get into close engagements.
Atlanta is suffering from hit points, but the Shores also took a big slap. I think it was from the Palmerin.
And Makarov.
Oh, goodness gracious. Team Green is suffering on the hit points front. Shores cleans up the Makarov, just waiting for that opportunity, and I suspect he's going to have a follow-up salvo for Atlanta. All Baltimore has to do at this point is be a threat. Shores is going to have an opportunity here. Atlanta's got range on Shores as well, so this could be a mutual kill scenario if these folks put their shots in the exact right place. Palmer holding that central cap, but how long? If Atlanta goes down, Baltimore and Shores are going to be bored. They're not going to have anything to do, and it's going to be a very big group of red ships collapsing on that Palmer. Eigel's still in the mix, though, keeping shots on Minikaze and making sure that he can't really move with impunity. But while it's happening, Eigel is losing hit points down to just about 5,000. Shores goes down to Atlanta. Atlanta goes down to Shores. A mutual kill is exactly what we got, and unfortunately, I swung the camera away. You'll have to imagine it.
Prince Ruprecht and Palmer are now doing the dance of the German battleships. Secondaries, torpedoes, mains.
The whole thing. The whole 9 yards. The whole tier 9 yards.
It looks like he's going to... Oh, and Prince Ruprecht goes down to the Palmer and torpedoes.
We're having a very exciting battle here. It's 2-2. Baltimore is the capital ship that remains, the non-destroyer, I guess we'll say, that remains on the Raider, the JEDI clan, and Eigel and Palmer for Raider. This is very, very dynamic. This game has been flipping back and forth. Oh my goodness. Minikaze staying outside that outer ring. Is there an acoustics threat right now? There is. He's 5.5 kilometers away from Palmer. I just didn't know if they were up, what the range was. I had to get in closer. No, you're exactly right.
Baltimore just used its hydros to watch for the Eigel, and certainly would have him picked up by now. But there's no one to... Like Minikaze. Minikaze, look at that. He's gunboating at the Eigel. Good for him.
I know. It's exactly what you need to do. Palmer, if he can get an amazing shot on that Mini, can change the equation here. Eigel's in a tight spot. He cannot challenge the Baltimore. If I were Baltimore, I would be asking the Eigel to pull out in front of me. But in this scenario, I think that Eigel needs to help with the Minikaze and hope that they can kill him, because then Palmer can help him with Baltimore. Palmer's got to be ready with the mains on Baltimore, just in case he pushes up, because Eigel, like I said, cannot take that fight. At least not most likely. It's very, very dangerous. Bone Baby points out that is the ranked silver camo. My bad. You're right, though. It does have the pattern on it, Bone Baby. It is ranked. I wanted it to be steel camo, so I just imagined it. This is so tense right now. Now the points are in Jedi's favor by 105 at the moment. Jedi's got a capped. Pommern is going to cap the center point here unless he's contested. I'm expecting to see a salvo come from either Mini or Baltimore to keep those points down. That kind of cap defense, but it didn't come, and now we've got a green cap in the center.
And as you remember, epicenter, the middle cap, you ring up points faster than the others.
Yeah, that is a good point. Does it say here? Oh, it only shows me the green team's gains right now because it thinks I'm on the green team. Minikaze has some torpedoes moving in on Pommern. This game is so intense right now. Baltimore is blocking the central cap. Eigel is in there as well. This standoff these folks have stood up is
these
very
Minikaze torps look very
spicy. Oh my goodness. Baltimore is exposed though. Here comes an AP salvo from Pommern. Overpens, but torpedoes from Eigel. He goes down. Eigel is still up, just 271 hit points. That's 270 more than he needs. Pommern is pushing forward, I think. And Minikaze is charging for the center. Minikaze can gunboat that Eigel if he gets eyes on him, and he outspots that ship by a significant margin. If Mini can torpedo the Pommern and gunboat the Eigel, this is a one game for Jedi. Otherwise, Pommern is going to have to get the job done. Was that acoustics that just fired up, Scotta?
I didn't see that. It must have been, though, because the Eigel has vision on Minikaze and is shooting him from his smoke.
Yep, I think Pommern fired up acoustics. Great usage of that. The clock is ticking. Green
Minikaze
team does have
trying
the
to get his
points.
torps on him.
Oh my goodness, what
wow.
a absolutely crazy
match. Great match. You got to say that fight between the Ruprecht and the Pommern when the torps came from both sides and the Ruprecht caught those torps, I feel like that was kind of a turn for them.
It really was. I mean, congratulations to Team Raider for taking that game home. Well played on all fronts. I'm going to bounce out of our training room. We'll get back to the chat studio there. What on earth, man? That was so intense for so many minutes. You know, those guys were watching the clock. They were calculating. They were communicating. They were planning. And in the end, that Minikaze torp run was expert mode. I mean, it's 3 torps, just one on top of the other. Very well delivered. Unfortunately, it just didn't pan out for the IJN destroyer.
Yeah, Pommern still had a lot of hit points, and those torpedoes aren't weak, but they're still tier 5 torpedoes, right? So, just would probably have to land, all 6 out of a salvo to be able to make a real huge dent.
Yeah, and just the way those launch at a bow-in battleship, literally that was the best launch you could get. Without the battleship changing orientation or you sailing a distance. That was just expert mode torpedoes. Eigel coming in there with the torpedoes against the Baltimore with the big salvo. When the Pommern overpenned and did not get the big kill on Baltimore, that was a chance for Jedi to carry that out. But at the end of the day, it just didn't work. Amazing that Eigel survived. So much action there. I hope that was transmitted to you guys at home. All right, I'm going to try to get into our next battle real quick. Creator is going to be Waves, it looks like.
Yeah, I see the room up. It's got 8 and 8 in it. I don't know if they're waiting for us or if that's a current match that's going.
We will try to get in there real quick then. I'll jump in and see what happens. That is a current match that is underway. So, yeah, that is the right room, but we'll wait for that match to come back.
Well, again, interesting combo of ships, and interesting to see that. Looking at those 2 tier 9 German battleships, that hit point disparity, the armor differences between those 2 hulls.
Absolutely.
Kind of interesting, the concealment. When I think of those British, or when I think of the German battle cruisers, I think one of their big strengths is concealment over the normal line. But when you're playing in these maps and it's so tight, it doesn't matter. Like you don't want to be concealed as much.
Yeah.
You just want to be able to get those secondaries to bear and have them do a lot of work if you can. And so, that and the strong, once you get to those ships, those torpedo armament on those ships are so strong. But me and my natural love affair that I had with Palmer a few years ago when it first came out, and how strong it was in small combat 3v3 ranked. or brawls. I think it was ranked brawls, something like that. But
It was brawls you
strong
were
in
doing, yeah.
3v3, and that was against multiple battleships. So I think Palmer is a relatively strong ship in these smaller format matches. It has those hydros, it has those torpedoes for brawling, but it's still a tough ship, and I think it can be used to effect.
Yeah, no, I think when the geography is restricted like that, Palmer really comes into its own, and ships like it as well. You know, we saw Schlieffen used relatively
Yep.
well in previous battles, but the acoustics are worth so much more when the maps are small. The secondaries are super powerful when the maps are small. The torpedoes that go a short distance go long enough when the maps are small. And again,
Yeah, we've
that
seen
hit point pool that you talked about with Palmer is huge. Continue.
We've
Sorry.
seen a lot of Freddy de Grosses, right? And so same hull, right? But Freddy, you can carry a bigger gun, a bigger salvo. But when you think about it, from a certain point of view, you're gonna have to pay more for that Palmer than you would for the Freddy. But the 380s, you're like, well, it's only got the 380s. But when you're fighting goofy lower tier cruisers, less chance at overpenning as a battleship captain is probably very tasty. I would imagine a lot
That's
of the
true.
Freddy de Grosses that we've seen are running the 406 Freddy de Grosses. They're not running the 420s. Maybe they are, but if you're fighting more cruisers and you're worried about overpens, not having as big a shell always helps there.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And with that, you mentioned the range of tiers. That's exactly the motivation that would cause somebody to want to step down the gun size. So definitely something to consider if you're thinking about putting up a team yourself for the next time this tournament comes around, or if you're listening and you've got games later this week. Definitely considering those options is I don't know, man. I mean, that's just one of my favorite things to get geeky about with this stuff. Guys, we're getting
Yeah.
ready for our. Oh, go ahead if you've got a thought.
I just gonna throw out there, if you could use it, the Mecklenburg's crazy guns, all
The
those smaller,
305s, yeah.
the 305s, but having so many of them would be really interesting in a fight like this.
And we did see one Odin yesterday. I don't know that I think Odin is really the pick, but I think it has 305s, right? Isn't it?
It does. It has those same guns, but Odin's
Yeah.
like light on hit points and it's
It's
secondary.
light on hit
firepower.
points. This, yeah.
Doesn't pack a huge wallop. It wouldn't be my choice at tier 8, but I mean, I like Odin. I just, in this kind of scenario, I don't think it has enough health.
It's difficult for competitive for the reasons you just listed, right? The things I like on Odin are the acoustics package, and I like the 305s for cruiser slapping. But yeah, I think you're a little bit light on secondary and probably a little bit light on hit points for sure. If you're just joining us, guys, we've got one more battle. I think I tried to go into the wrong training room there. We've got one more battle tonight, and we are doing a Clash of the Classes stream. Did he close the room?
Room did go away.
Okay, well, we'll watch here in a second. It's Clash of the Classes, which is a small 4v4 tournament. We'd love to have you hang out with us for our final battle of the evening. It might be able to get in one more, but I don't think so. I think this is going to be our closer for the night. And then we'll be back for the bracket play for the playoffs next weekend on Saturday. That's the only day I've committed to so far, but we'll see how the schedule plays out between now and then. We will have our regular scheduled streams. Tuesday, we'll be doing a discussion of all of the Tier 8 ships that you might see in this upcoming season of Clan Battles. We'd hope that you'll join us tomorrow for that, or Tuesday for that, as we'll be having a pretty interactive discussion, and we'd love to have you guys' comments and chat to help kind of carry us through that as we talk about all of the excitement that's coming up with this new and interesting season of Clan Battles. Thursday, of course, we'll have our regular World of Warships stream, and then Saturday, returning to do Clash of the Classes, as I previously mentioned.
Yeah, I totally forgot we're having the big fun Tier 8 Clan Battles conversation in 2 more days. I'm going to need to get some tea with honey. I'm not used to talking this much.
Yeah, it's a thing. I'm actually...
Yeah, you've grown like scales in your throat from doing this all the time, more so than I have.
I'll tell you, man. I also filmed a video this weekend, the one that's going live tomorrow. And yeah, I've been doing a lot of talking, and I talk a lot at work for a living. So I've got a pretty busy talking schedule here for the next week. It's not exactly healthy. So we're going to need to tone down the special events after we get out of this tournament here next weekend.
Well, I sure would like this training room to reappear. I'm excited to look at this last match, but
I'm gonna message the dude and see if
yeah, because right now we're at the time of that match and the match hasn't occurred. So unless that was the match, but it didn't look like the right teams for it to have been the match.
I just messaged him. We'll see what's going on here. Having some suggestions for Italian sap to avoid overpens.
Yeah, we haven't seen any Italian battleships in this, have we?
We had one Roma, but it didn't bring sap.
Okay, yeah,
right? So we had a
haven't seen,
Roma
like,
yesterday.
Yeah, we haven't seen like a Veneto or
Mm-mm.
like a Marco Polo or a Giuseppe Verde or any of those things. Yeah.
No, we have not. I hope we didn't miss our opportunity to be in that battle, but
Yeah, it seems like everybody tonight's been getting together and going before the official go times, which is fine.
Yeah, it's all good as long as everybody's there. I'm gonna pop into their channel real quick, guys. So.
Oh no, he just reopened a room.
Oh, is it there? Great.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a voice channel. I was gonna just go jump in and be like, "Hey guys, it's me, Clyde. What's going on?" But it's better if I don't have to do that. I'd rather just find. There's a very cleverly named room. Looks like we're pulling together our team here. We've got, looks like 4 or 5 people in the room, plus the organizer, so we should be able to get started here fairly shortly.
And we're looking at Trident, which we have already seen once tonight.
So the way they do this is the slots are... hang on one moment, let me answer a question here. The slots are every hour or every time that a match starts is the same map. This one is actually outside of that, so I don't know what map it's going to be. In other words, all the 8 o'clock maps are the same, all the 8:30 maps are the same, all the 8:50 maps are the same. So because this one's kind of outside of the round, we're trying to do an extra battle. It could be any map. I have no idea.
Well, we haven't seen Ocean, which is one of the maps that can be used.
Ocean will not be used until we reach the playoffs, and that is when we get to the playoffs. They do, I think, best of 3s or best of 5s. I can't remember, but they only use Ocean if for the 3rd battle if there's a tie. I think
Just
so.
to force that tiebreaker. I hope it's Ocean Epicenter.
That would be amazing. That would absolutely be amazing. We do have one team fully assembled here, so we have the 2 Mars team. In fact, let me go and make sure. I know I haven't set up the new team names yet. Scotta, who are we playing against in the 2 Mars? We did cast a 2 Mars match last night, didn't we?
We did. The opponent, per the information that you provided me, is TFBP.
Thank you. I just can't see all of my windows at the same time. I need more monitors, despite the fact that I have an enormous monitor. There we go.
And hopefully TFBP arrives soon. Otherwise, I think by the rules of the tournament, you and I must fight in their place.
Gosh, I hope not. Hey guys, I am gonna try to. Well, let me see if we've got some time. Well, you know what? I don't know. I'm gonna see if I have some time to do a giveaway.
That's bold with the time delay and everything.
I've worked. I
wish you luck with figuring that out.
I've got Bowmaster primed to handle the stuff. All I have to do is hit the start button, and then after this battle, we will turn off the giveaway. So let me figure out how to do this real quick. I also have to make a new giveaway. I've been told what is in these codes they gave me, but I don't know how it works. We'll do this giveaway after the last battle.
The participants are asking if you or I know where the other team is. And I said, no. I said they weren't in the match that we just came from.
Yeah.
That's all I can assure you of.
Yeah, we can tell them what it's TFBP, right?
Yes.
I'll go message him. So a lot of the teams that are in this tournament are relatively new to tournaments in general. I mean, you and I are relatively new to this concept. I've never done
We are
anything like
old
this.
hats now. We completely understand how it all works now.
Yeah,
after
yeah.
all for a little over 3 hours.
Exactly. Yeah, we have almost 4 hours of experience. So a lot of the teams are like very, very fresh at what's going on here. Let's see. The player is the Mando, and he's got a cool Mandalorian icon. Let's go. We are getting some folks entered.
The Mando.
We have Doom Knight said, "Is ocean exactly what it sounds like?" And so, yes, I've put up the ocean map. We will show what it looks like. It is just a blank blue water ocean, and that is all that it is. Okay, so Captain. Okay, I'm going to contact the co-captain. The captain is at work. Nightmare Phoenix is...
Well, they're filling the other team with bots now.
Please no. Please no.
It's you and me and 2 bots.
We could take them. Actually, I have no idea if we could take them. I don't know if these guys are well beyond our capabilities.
No idea. Don't want any part.
Let me see if I can figure out. Where did I put the... Oh. Are we in the wrong room?
We joined the room that was being run by the people that you said to join with the stuff and the thing.
Yeah. I just told the other guy to message Wave. So both teams have created a room for this battle. Sorry for the chaos there, folks. We are going to get this squared away, and we will find our way into it. Sending some messages back and forth, trying to make this thing happen. We'll see what we can do. We'll send messages several different ways. Letting these guys know what's going on. I think we have done it correctly. It is going to be Trident. That is officially the map according to the schedule. And it should be 2 Mars versus TFBP. We should have these folks here hopefully fairly soon. I'll message, what's his name back again?
All right. And we're being told to go to
Sorry.
another room. Do we know the other room that we're supposed to go to?
Wait. They just killed the room.
Yep. They said
Right.
in chat that they were told by the admins to go to another room.
Yeah, I'm chatting with Nightmare Phoenix to figure out the room. Sorry about all this at home, folks, or folks at home. JD is all I know about the players' names. Oh, here it is. JD Red 5. No? That doesn't seem right. Well, let's go in there and see if that's where Waves is. Nope. I'm guessing it's JD Red 5. This last battle of the night is always a little bit chaotic, guys. Appreciate you hanging with us here as we try to sort out some of these technical issues with the scheduling. It always kind of gets a little hairy when we're trying to squeeze in one more game at the end of the night.
Waves is still in the room that he created in it with a bunch of bots. So I don't know what's going on.
Okay. I've gotten confirmation from Nightmare Phoenix that it is JD Red 5 is the player who's hosting the room.
Yeah, I'm not finding any rooms hosted by that.
It's there if you just search for JD, but it is full and it's got like 19 people in it, like it's jammed.
Yeah, but I can't search by 2 letters, right? So what's the?
Oh, JD_red will get you there.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying. I'm just gonna chill in here for now. Look at all these people. Is everybody streaming that battle?
Everybody but us, it appears.
Yeah, we did not get invited to the Cool Kids Club, I guess. That's okay. Okay. So I don't think we need to chill in this room. I've been told that JD's going to ping the leaders for the next game. I'm going to ask this guy to hit me up when it's ready. And I'm going to bounce out of this room full of 20 people. Oh my goodness. Well, we are getting ready to talk about this business. We do have Trident. Now, Trident's a map we've seen before. We saw it earlier tonight, and of course, it's very popular. It's very popular for clan battles and other competitive modes. So, very well trod map for combat to take place on. Hopefully, we wind up getting into this last battle here tonight. If we don't, well, by golly, we certainly tried. But I think we should be okay. Okay. All right, we need to look for this. Scott, I'm going to send you this. And we're going to try to track it down. I've just told him we're ready. And I'm going to be... There we go. This is not it.
Now that looks like the one we were just taking a look at.
I think he's just trying to get us in. I think we need to just sit in here. He said next match is in 5 to 10 minutes, so we might just be a little bit early. So I just confirm. I'm asking him if it's the same room, and then we'll know. Yep, he says this is the right room, so we're good. We'll let these guys do their thing here. Hey, Nightmare, welcome to the show. Glad to have you join us. Okay, we have been added to the spectators list. These are not the right teams, so I think these players are going to bounce, and then we'll wind up getting our new folks in there. And it looks like we're good to go.
No, by the looks of things, that was a couple of really good teams.
That was very solid play. I'm letting this guy know what's going on. All right, we are here to do some business. There's so many people in here. Well, guys at home, you've been incredibly patient for this last battle. I hope it lives up to expectations and desires. Let's get into what we think it's going to be. Again, Trident, a match we've seen before. And I don't think we've cast either of these teams. Or no, we've done Waves team before. What's Waves team's name? It is
the Two Mars team.
Two Mars.
I think we had them last night.
We did. There we go. We've got some of the right players coming in. This WPA group that we're seeing here, that's their clan tag, but their team name is TFBA. Or TFBP, excuse me. So many variables. Again, if you're just joining us for our final battle today, this is Clash of the Classes, a 4v4 tournament with very wacky ship builds, a very intricate system of rules for how teams are built that leads to very interesting matchups. I hope you guys are having a good time with us tonight. And of course, we'll be back next weekend. There will be action for Clash of the Classes all week, but I've just got too much going on to do casting on weeknights. In addition to my regular streaming schedule. So I hope that you guys will engage in the rest of the tournament, watch some other streamers, and get as excited about this as I am. Of course, we'll be back, like I said, next Saturday for day one of the playoffs, and we'll see just how things go at that point.
Yeah, check it out on the rest of the week because it doesn't happen at the same time that you normally stream. So
yeah, I'm going to be checking it out.
Big fan of Clyde, it's fine. Because it's over an hour before we go on.
You're not.
We bigly endorse it. If it was at the same time, to hell with it. You should watch us instead.
Well. If it's on at the same time, I would probably just cast it. But
right. Yeah, to be fair, yeah, we would probably just do that if it was on at the
exactly.
same time. This has been a lot of fun, and so
Oh, it's absolutely a blast. I'm stoked to be here and being a part of it and everything. It's just I don't want to break up my normal schedule as well, and I just can't go straight from working at a computer all day to casting at a computer to grabbing like a sandwich to streaming again all night. It'd just be way too much. So we're gonna. Yeah,
you're describing my schedule this week due to my obligations to the World of Warships community. So thanks for making it sound terrible. Appreciate it.
Well, I just described it as it is. So
it is, and it is.
Oh man, goodness gracious. There we go. We've got, I think, all 18, or no, 7 of our 8 players are here. And we are hoping to get everybody in, and then we are going to wander over to our combat interface. We'll get into our final battle here. Trident, dude, I said it before, I'll say it again. It is my favorite map for clan battles right now, and it's not because I think it's easy, it's because I think it just provides really good opportunities for coordinated play, and it can provide really frustrating chances for your team to be incredibly frustrated when things don't go your way. We'll certainly talk about the team's approaches when we get in there. Excited to see what Two Mars is bringing today. I honestly don't remember their lineup from yesterday. I feel like Waves might have been driving the Azuma. I think he might have been the Azuma captain in the battle we saw yesterday. So we'll see how it goes. Eight players in, 7 players ready. Lots of streamers today. We have 12 spectators in this match, so you have your pick of where you want to watch this one, it seems. We are at 7:04 p.m., so the stream is running into overtime. And here we go. Games have got to be getting very close. We've got 8 players ready. They're going to be doing their ready checks here to make sure we've got the game set up correctly. We've got our ships readied correctly. And then as soon as we are live...
Let's get ready to battle!
Let's get ready to warship. I don't know.
What was the other guy? There's another fella from boxing. Get it on!
Let's get it on. Yeah. I'll allow it. From the Claymation MTV.
Yes, that's right.
That's 20, 25 years ago. I'll allow it.
That's what that's from. That's why that's stuck in my head. Randomly, I see that Beavis and Butthead have made their return and are now streaming new episodes on Paramount Plus.
New episods?
Yes, new episodes, and they watch YouTube videos.
I don't think I need more Beavis and Butthead. I think they said everything they needed to say.
Instead of watching music videos, they watch YouTube videos. I watched a clip where they commentated on an ASMR video, and it was hilarious.
Oh, I'm sure it was. I mean, as much as I said they've said everything they need to say, there's so much to unearth there. All right, guys. We're going 2 Mars versus TFBP. Scotta, I'm sure you're eager to get to dinner here. So hopefully this battle is fast, furious, and fun. Yeah. And to the victor goes the ELO points.
My blood sugar is low.
I won't keep you afterwards for post-stream discussion. You bounce and go get your food, man. I'll say goodbye to the people and wrap it up here. Interesting team builds. We have a Vermont in here. Team Green. Team Green is our 2 Mars team. Kirov, T61, first one we've seen in the tournament. Miyoko and Vermont, very interesting pick. Spent a lot of points on that tier 10, and thus you're seeing mid-tier, low-tier cruisers and destroyers. Scotta, what are we seeing over there on the TFBP side?
TFBP's brought a Fubuki, a Baltimore, a Shores, and a Pommern, and that seems very familiar.
Yeah, that is very similar to the that we had last time.
A lot of familiar choices. A lot of familiar choices there. The other team, the green team, bringing some interesting wild cards.
Yeah, I would say so. We're going to take a look at these initial deployments. We'll stay here with TFBP. So far, a relatively northward sailing line for everyone. Fubuki beelining for that island just to the south of B. Shores taking a left-hand corner. Pommern not working too hard, keeping the engines rolling at a casual saunter, but taking a left corner as well. Baltimore not really steaming at full tilt either, but just kind of waiting, I think, to see enemy deployments to figure out where best to employ that radar. If we take a look at Team Green, everyone has taken a corner and they are moving towards Charlie. A much different initial approach from the green team. Now Vermont is going to be able to blap just about anything from just about anywhere on this map, provided it has vision. Kirov's 180mm guns should be able to make good work on things like Shores and Baltimore as well. And honestly, the HE from Kirov is great against destroyers. T61 we know to be a powerful destroyer. They paid the extra point for the premium there. And Miyoko is a reliable HE spammer, but only at that range of about 15.6, 15.8. We'll see how green team approaches the Charlie cap. Let's check in with red here.
Yours is definitely making that play we talked about on Trident yesterday, where you go out wide in a fire-spitting cruiser and run up the 1-2 line. Mm-hmm. I think once they realize that the entire team went Charlie, he's going to crank that helm over hard, and he's going to drive it to Alpha and Cap.
Yeah, I suspect a kind of a 90-degree corner, or basically a kind of an acute angle. He's going to shoot up here through that Alpha Cap just as soon as he's gotten around that island, because they're going to suddenly know where all of the green team are located. Fubuki's up here getting eyes. Go ahead.
Vermont just deployed its ASW flight.
Oh, did it really?
It did.
It deployed some stuff.
It did It dropped some depth charges.
That's amazing. Thank you. I was trying to remember the term. Yeah, no joke. So Fubuki's gotten some spots here. We did have a few shots exchanged. T61 took a little bit of damage. Looks like...
Auburn shots for Kirov.
Oh, yeah, there they go. chunk out of Kirov. Waves is taking a hit there. Waves is trying to get bow in. You know, I don't know that bow in is going to do much for a tier 5 cruiser against a Palmern. However, it is going to help with those secondaries. The secondaries are going to be splashing all around on either side of the ship. But the main battery, that's going to just punch through the bow, I think, of that Kirov.
Yeah, Vermont let a salvo loose for the Baltimore, but it just fell short.
Fubuki torpedoes missing the T-61. It looks like T-61's acoustics have gone up, knowing that Fubuki has, I think, a third rack over there. And is that 2? No, that might be all 3.
That's all of Fubuki's torpedoes. He
Yep.
saw them and popped his. That's a panicked
acoustics.
hydro. So yeah, so now his acoustics are running over there to protect him for the next wave that may come. Thinking about Vermont.
Oh, go ahead.
Just briefly thinking about Vermont in this and the long reload on Vermont and the clock. And I'm thinking, how many actual shots are you going to get in that ship with that reload?
Mm-hmm. You know, I always talk about a 30-second reload means you get 40 salvos in a 20-minute game. This is a 10-minute game, and your reload is worse than 30 seconds, right? So what are you going to get? 15, 16 salvos, maybe? 18? You know, it's just not going to be nearly as many. I think, yeah, T-61, if they had caught the Fubuki hiding by this island, that acoustics deployment would have been fine, but you're right that it was probably a little bit eager. That said, he did spot these torps coming through here from Fubuki, so perhaps it wasn't the worst usage.
That part is of value, right? He's picking up those torps, and they let Vermont know where they were.
Mm-hmm. Things are about to get spicy indeed.
Yeah, Vermont's given a lot of side, and they're pushing in. These guys are pushing in hard now with the Palmer and the Baltimore.
Palm just took a bit of a chunk there. I mean, Vermont can do work up close too. It's just that she's not really known for it. So I think what we're seeing here between these two battleships could be something that critically impacts the outcome of this battle. Nightmare Phoenix rolling up in there, torpedoes deployed from Palmern. Baltimore standing behind. Look at Baltimore letting Palmern soak the damage and just sitting there slinging HE. I think Baltimore could probably switch to AP and get some work done on Vermont too at this range.
Yeah, he definitely could at this range into the upper belt.
Shores is trying to pick off Miyoko
and
range.
Boy, a big hit from Vermont right through Baltimore.
As we said, Vermont can do work up close. He can do it. Here's the torps coming in.
Yeah, he missed the Palmer torps, but he's going to catch a bunch of these Fubuki ones. But you do see that new acceleration change to Baltimore or Vermont come into play there.
Yeah, you do. Definitely allowing him to be a little bit more maneuverable in the proximity here. This is two behemoths just slapping one another. At this moment, Palmern looks to be in the better position, although they weren't just moments ago. Thanks to those Fubuki torpedoes, Vermont's future has changed. There goes Baltimore. Vermont cleaning up the radar cruiser. A big help to T-61. Kirov is down simultaneously in the backfield. Miyoko putting some HEs on the Palmern, but suffering some secondaries that are coming in. Miyoko ablaze as we see them at the moment.
Palmer let loose his second rack of torps on that turn. If Vermont, I thought Vermont might lose them, but he's slowing up and changing his angle a little bit, and that looks like it could be a few good hits there.
Yeah, he's going to take more than one. Ooh, he luckily dodges the third, thankfully. There's a bow shot from Vermont into Palmer and taking a chunk. T-61 took some damage too. Was that torpedoes from someone? Those might have been.
Must have been from Fubuki.
Oh my goodness, poor T-61 is now trying to figure out what to do. At this range, Fubuki or T-61 can't leave the smoke or Palmern will spot them. Palmern's acoustics could spot them if they're ready, and T-61 is about to run out of smoke. It's going to put him in a very dangerous position with the secondaries of that large battleship. Shores working on Miyoko. Shores basically full health, still perfectly full health. Shores is in big trouble at the moment. Torpedoes from Fubuki to clean him up.
Secondaries were focused the whole time on Miyoko. He's got another rack of torps out for Vermont, and those are going to land true.
This is it.
And that's it
game.
Right there. Wow.
Fast, furious.
Strong tank play from the Palmer there.
TFBP taking away the victory from 2 Mars today in our final match in tonight's Clash of the Classes coverage. Thank you so much for joining us for all of this. What on earth? That was insane. I thought Vermont had something there. I really did with that first big salvo against him.
Yeah, once the Palmer squared up and he was taking AP to the nose like that, it's just... you're limited in your places where you can place those shells, right? If you put them into the nose, you're worried about ricochets because of the angle of the bow. If you try to raise up that and catch the superstructure, you're trying to go through the turrets at that point. limited opportunities there to get all the guns to bear to do an actual effect. I'm not saying he should have reloaded HE, because I think that ship had sailed literally, but just a tough fight in close quarters for a Vermont like that.
Yeah, I mean, the reload, as you mentioned, is a huge factor for that ship. The ability to switch shells is so costly in a 10-minute game. You kind of got to ride what you got in the tubes and put it out, right? So I think you're exactly right on that. Well, Scott, thanks for being a part of the stream tonight. I won't keep you. I know that we're over time and dinner is awaiting, so I appreciate you tons, bud.
Appreciate it, buddy. Great show. Had a good time, and I look forward to doing this again next week.
All righty. Hey, thanks a lot. Talk to you later. I appreciate you guys being a part of this show. It has been an absolute honor to carry the description of these games while you guys have watched here with me and with Scott. I hope that you come back and hang out with us again next weekend. With that, I am going to close up. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend and enjoy more Clash of the Classes action as we continue into the tournament next week.